Who's that creeping in my window? Bow. Nobody. Is it nobody now? It's so funny because somebody on Facebook said something about Future, between Future and Russell. I said, well, I've always chosen Russell's. I don't even know what Future sings. I cannot tell you one line from a Future song.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot. I remember a long time ago there was a post of the Amigos. Ain't it Amigos? And I was like, oh, Future. And I never forget. It's like, I know one of them, Future. They was like, that ain't no Future. Why I thought one of them was Future. The chat, the comments lit me up. I said, I'm not talking no more.
I don't even try to pretend I know artists nowadays.
That's a fact.
All I know is the girl with the orange hair because she was in the Ben Affleck commercial.
Who?
Orange hair.
What's her name? Not Sugar. Her name.
It ain't Suki, is it?
Hair. What's her name?
The Suki Hana.
So you don't know her, basically.
No.
You don't know her.
No, I do. Give me a second. Her name is. It's not Sweetie, not the one in the Chris Brown song. It is Spice, Sugar Spice.
Ice Spice?
Ice Spice.
Ice Spice.
Yeah, I don't know her either.
But if she dyed her hair, I wouldn't know her either. That's horrible.
I know.
I know Cardi B. I know Megan Thee Stallion.
You say Megan Thee Stallion is usually Meg Thee Stallion, so you don't really know her either.
Oh, they don't call her Megan?
No.
I do know watching old girl getting her soul tucked was disgusting.
Who?
Suki Hana.
Who is Suki Hana?
No, it's in the group chat.
You know what? But Cardi B, I watched an old clip from Cardi B when she was on Love and Hip Hop. And I must say, she has made some, even though she's still a little wet behind the ears, she has made some major, she's grown a lot as a human being. She has.
I don't know about that, but
I said she's
talking about in terms of being more public ready, I guess. What do you say, rough around the edges? She's still rough around the edges, but
she's rough around the edges. But I do like her mothering skills. I do like her as her mothering skills. Like even though she seems to be very protective over her children. You know what I'm saying? I remember seeing a video where I guess her music was playing when the little girl walked in and she turned it off real fast. Mm-hmm. So she seems to be very conscious about things like that, and that's
Well, there was a interview that she did, and the interviewer asked her would she let her daughter listen to her music, she said hell no, and then she was like, what about these other little girls? And she's like, well, I'm not their parents.
That's true.
I'm like, well,
it's like Playboy. You kept it away from your kids, right? Even though you sneak in and go read the book. But they did try to hide it. Hey, you guys, happy Friday. Let's introduce our panelists for today. We have the APHD, Mistaken. And then there's me, Shan Monet, and this is a Chic critique. Oh gosh, I wish JR was available because it's a video I wanted. It would have been a good brain. You know what? I can actually let you listen to the audio. Y'all want to hear the audio? If I can find it, if I ain't let it go, you gotta let it go.
Let it go.
Oh. Y'all know I love waking up on a Saturday morning to some good old music.
Oh. I like waking up to something totally different on a Saturday.
What she was TMI.
I, I know what that mean. I know what it mean when you scooching back. I know exactly what that mean.
She likes a back rub.
Nah, she might like a back rub.
All
That
right, so
shoulder grab.
we'll get into the topic. So mistaken and I'm gonna get straight to the thing. And I really wanted this topic to be called Let Them Go. Let them go.
Let him go.
Let them go. Let them go. And we're gonna start with the first video.
We don't love these hoes anymore.
Let them go. Let them go. Let me find the video. The video. You guys here on Fridays, we just do whatever we want to do. All right, let's see. Y'all know my eyes back. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is.
I already knew I had him because there was simply no competition out there for me. But let's just look at it objectively. You had this average Black American guy who now was able to choose between what he was dealing with before and somebody completely new. And let me tell you, the moment I stepped into that man's life, he really didn't know how to deal with my femininity because I was not loud. I was not screaming. I was not trying to, be louder than him. I didn't interrupt him because that's not something that I learned from home. If somebody would speak, and especially a man, you would let that man speak and then you would listen and then say whatever you have to say, right? So I was clean. I cooked. He didn't know what it was when a woman is actually in the room asking him, like, do you want something to drink? Before I got myself something to drink. Do you want something to eat? Before I started to eat my food, I would ask him, do you want to have a bite? I would come out of nowhere and just have a fruit bowl and just offer him some fruit. He didn't know none of this. So my husband, back then boyfriend, really thought this was a dream come true. He didn't know how to deal with none of this because all this me coming through, just being nurturing by nature, his peoples and his family didn't even do that for him. Like the family, there is no family unit. The average family, especially Black American family, has barely a family unit. There is no breakfast, lunch, and dinner at set times. And these are things that I introduced my husband to with my family. Can you imagine that impact that I had on him back then? So gentlemen, do not be afraid of traveling. There are so many more women out there who are willing to take care of you. It doesn't matter if they're young. It doesn't matter if they're older. They are willing to take care of you, willing to work with you, willing to be a part of your life. You don't have to deal with whatever you are dealing with back in your hometown because unfortunately, a lot of American women are lost in the delusional world that they are living in, and they don't even understand that they are going to be lonely for a long time, if not for the rest of their life. They say by choice, but I don't believe them.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, they don't have this, so let me give them this. They don't have that. Y'all, most Black people have families. We got family reunions. We got families. Now, we may not sit down for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She got that part, but we got family. And there are some things that I think that African American women should work on. And maybe that's a person that she's never come across. I mean, he's never come across. Mm-hmm. But to say that Black men don't have women to cater to them, that means you don't have a woman who loves you. That's what that means. At the end of the discussion. Because a woman who loves a man, no matter what the race is going to cater to the guy. That's just
I think that there's different ways that people are accustomed to loving, and she might be or might have love towards you, and she might be feeling you and stuff like that, but she might have a different idea of how the relationship should go. So her catering might not be the idea like this woman was talking about. And a lot of brothers are arguing like, hey, these women can cook, they can clean, they just don't. So, and they're not willing to learn. They don't want to learn. They just rather get everything, you know, outsourced, just like men. A lot of times, us men, we just want somebody else to do the yard and take care of some of the household like maintenance duties. But they're just like, I just think that I don't think it's far fetched to be like, hey, listen, there are a lot of women here in the US that don't care about catering to a man, even if she loves them. And, brothers is deciding to go elsewhere.
This my take on that was just go ahead and love your black man, cater to your black man without the need to put us in your mouth. I think for me, that is the biggest thing with these themes. And I think part of that goes into this, like how they say, this whole gender war thing. And so now you have outsiders choosing sides, so to speak. And like,
and the
if
audacity to do so. Like, who are
yeah,
you, baby? I'm sorry.
yeah,
Did we
like
meet?
you're not the competition.
You
I
know?
mean, in my opinion, I don't think they're the competition. I think the competition is among the black women. That's why we keep saying, well, not me, but I'm including myself in the overall black woman group, because I'm not looking for nobody. Um, but the idea of the competing against each other, right? So I mean, because stats show that majority of black men choose black women. So it's not necessarily the competition among them. My thing is if you choose to be with somebody, if you're, got your black man, love and cater to him, do whatever you want, but it doesn't need to be at the expense of trying to say, y'all don't know how to cater to man. I bring my man food. Like, I mean, I don't know because I'm not a dude, but just the way that I know I was raised, the people that I've been around, that's not a big deal because that's what all the women do that I'm accustomed to. You bring the plate of food, you fix everybody's plate, you bring the food. That's not a big deal. Now, what she may have introduced to him that is, lacking in the black community is a family unit where the mom and dad are together, because in our community, is majority is single led households. But yeah, I think for me that was the biggest issue. I don't care that you date black men or black men date you. It is what it is. It's the audacity to try to chastise or be like, y'all don't know what y'all doing, like that kind of thing. Just be happy with your black man. Keep serving him.
And my thing is, why is it so? I think my biggest concern is, so you're sitting up at night thinking, I need to let the black, like what goes into your head to say, okay, let me take a whole time out of my day to speak to a whole race of women in a different country about what they're not doing, as if we're all the same. It's just so weird to me. That's like me going, oh, let me address these Chinese women, and then because I got a Chinese man, like, you don't like it. To me, it's like, girl, who are you? It just gives your man could not pull that type of woman. I'm glad that you're in his life, and I'm happy for him. I think that people should be happy with the person that they're with. That's a congratulations, good job. We don't even know him to care.
So she said what she said, and I'm glad she stands on that. Between you two, I honestly heard one of y'all shame her, and then the other one shame him. He couldn't pull that here.
If you're saying that he's not getting that, it's safe to say she's implying that he's never had that. Have you had that from a black woman, AP?
100%.
Okay, so you would disagree with her statement that black women don't do that? Because to say that you've had a black woman to do that for you means that black women do that.
What I will say is, I've never been looking for women overseas, so I can't say what the percentage is of the women that do that overseas. But what I can say is, if you as a man have never really seen that, then you don't know how to implement that here stateside. If you as a woman have never seen that, then you don't know to do it here stateside. And what I will say is, m- from my experience, most women stateside, unless you implement it as a man, they don't do that shit. Yeah, they will feed you. They will bring you your plate first. Yes, that I think that's pretty normal. I will say that's pretty. I will say that that's pretty normal. But a standard breakfast time, standard lunch time, standard dinner time.
But when you have to live with somebody to see all that, are you talking about your wife would never do that for you?
I didn't say she wouldn't do that for me because that's how it is. But
I
if
think
you've
that's
never,
the
but
difference too, is that if you are girlfriend, you're not white. And we've had this conversation before, that there's a difference, at least for me, I know a lot of people don't agree with it, is that you have certain expectations when you're in a girlfriend boyfriend relationships, that those expectations should be reserved for a wife or a husband. And I think that's where the confusion comes in, is that there's this expectation that I'm supposed to treat you like the husband and you're supposed to be treated like the wife when I don't have that title. That's not where we're at. So, not to say that at times I can't cook you dinner and bring your plate. I don't think that that's the problem, but I think it's the expectation that that's going to be our routine, when I think that is reserved, that level of care, in my opinion, is reserved for a relationship at status as husband and wife. So, I mean, I know
I
that that's what y'all expect, but I don't think that y'all should be expecting that.
But I think
I
that
disagree.
I
I,
disagree too, because I'm gonna tell you, if my guy spends the night over here, I'm going to wake up and make him breakfast. It's just
That's what I
natural
said.
to
That's
do.
different. But are you expected to make him breakfast every day?
I don't live
Breakfast,
with
lunch,
him.
and dinner.
I'm
If
not.
if
I don't live with him.
That's my point. That is exactly my point. My thing is, we're cohabitating, pretending that we're married and have expectations of a marriage, but not being married. My thing is that I don't think we need to have those expectations, because it will never, well, I can say never, it rarely leads to marriage. And so you're just stuck in limbo with these expectations that's supposed to come in a marriage. And then when the person don't do it, you'll say, oh, she sucks or he sucks. But they shouldn't be doing that to begin with. Like, I wouldn't expect anybody to be paying all my bills, or things like of that nature. So the level of nurturing that you're looking for in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship is not the same level of nurturing that you provide your husband and wife. That's just my
if
opinion.
Let him finish his statement. Go ahead, AP.
I'm just gonna bounce off of Miss Taken real quick. If I'm gonna show you that I'm a husband, you sure as hell are gonna show me that you're a wife.
But how do you do that
That's
though?
it. Really depends, right? So for me, my my goal at first was to teach.
Mhm.
I believe that is a husband's goal, is to teach and to teach continuously. Also, when I think of protection, I think of more than just the physical protection piece. Now, if you're going to show me you're a wife, you're going to listen to my instruction. I'm not going to put you in harm's way. You have to trust that I'm going to do the things that I'm putting you in the best position to be successful. And if we are in the same house at the same time and we're eating dinner together and you're going to do, my expectation is for you to bring me the plate, especially if I provide the meal. And I believe that's, you have to show those qualities in order to end up with that ring. And you have to do that before you get married. The problem is we get too hung up on this dating bullshit when we're not really courting
Correct. And it gets confusing.
for a wife, and it gets and for a husband, so vice versa. And yes, it gets very confusing and it gets convoluted. The water gets extremely muddy on where one ends and the other begins. So if you're out intentionally looking for a husband, or if you're out intentionally looking for a wife, then I think that once you get past those, let's call it first 4 or 5 dates, you are now officially in this courting phase to see if this is something that's going to be long term or if it was just a lesson. And too oftentimes we get stuck dating for fucking 5 years. And it doesn't make any sense. And listening to this, I guess this German woman, she's saying, I'm going to show you all of this at the beginning, because she made a point to say, my then boyfriend, now husband. She's showing you who she is, what she's going to do for you from the beginning. Now, I'm curious
In
to
Germany,
find out. I
in
think she
Germany,
was.
West though. Did she say the West?
She did say the West.
Mm-hmm.
Did she not know she
Yeah,
took to the West?
she forgot she in Europe. I'm gonna let it go. Um,
Or maybe she's here in the
but
States and she's German.
my biggest thing is I'm curious to know how she was able to determine that he was husband quality, considering she stated he had never seen any of what she offered. How was her transition? How did she know that he was going to be a good husband for her? She
Well,
knew, he figured out early on that, like, yo, this is dope. I've never gotten this before. Whoa, what the shit is going on? What was
see,
her transition like?
that was the thing that I was going to say. A lot of times we choose based on our trauma or lack, right? So if I think I'm doing, so if I've never had, let's say, a dude take me on a date before, or put money in my pocket, or, here, go get your hair done, right? I never had that. The dude that does that, I'm gonna be like, oh, he's a good dude, because I'm comparing him to the lowest of the low in terms of what my experiences were, right? I never had a dude to do that. So anybody that does that is going to look a hella better than anybody else, right? And so that is one of the things that I wondered. I like the way you thought about it, but I was thinking about it from the flip side, on her, on the end of her, like, is she the type of woman that a German man would select? Because there may be a different set or level of expectations that German men have of German women, and she could be at the bottom. And I'm not saying she is. I don't know. I don't know. And it's not a hate thing. It's just the way that my mind works. Would she be considered, I guess, at the bottom of the totem pole of type of women that a German man would select for a wife? So with your question, if she is, and he's never had that treatment, it makes sense that that would be a match. But
and it makes sense through history. And I know people are like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Think about history, the way history is set up. Everybody wants somebody under them, right? Everybody, especially them Germans, everybody likes to make somebody feel like they're inferior to them. They like to call out what's, and it's just another form of that. but I'm telling you, black women, do not let this get to you. Be unbothered. Nobody cares. Well, you know how what black women have gone through. You know how black men have, and it's the same thing, vice versa. You know what black people have gone through.
Now,
Yeah.
I think what she was saying has some validity though as well. Don't get me wrong. It definitely does. But it should always be in conjunction with the expectations that you should have
For
of
sure.
the man, you know, that you're seeking. Like,
And I would agree that and you have to meet your man where he is, because what's important to one man may not be important to another man. You know, I you know, in the few relationships I've had, I can say the guys I have been in a relationship with are very different people. Their expectations are very, very different. You just have to know, because there are some men who say, I can outsource that. I need you to be able to count this money, balance my statement, you know, so we can get this business popping, you know. So people have different expectations for what they want in every relationship. So you just have to know what works best for you. Go ahead, HD. I apologize.
Yeah, I just hate the argument that women are inclined to remove wifely duties in the preliminary period, but men are expected to give husband qualities throughout the
What
entire
are
process.
they though?
The
but
process is
they don't. They don't.
they do. They
So what
provide,
are
they
they, HD? Give me
protect.
a legit, tangible husband quality that men are expected to do in a relationship with a woman that they're just having, like they're just they from the bed.
They're expected to provide solutions and actually listen to you and help you level up. They're also expected to play and protect you physically and mentally. We
How if they
literally
don't
do
live with
all of
you?
the things that you want us to do before we even decide that you're even anything to us.
So let me ask
Like,
you a question, HD. You were talking about some women you were dating earlier. If those women called you right now and said, "I have a flat tire," you gonna stop what you're doing and go jump in the road? Or if they say, "Oh, my roof, something is on my roof. Can you go up there?" You gonna go up on their house, on their roof, and fix whatever it is going on?
yes. Because the thing is when you actually care about people and you actually are a person of integrity and character, you will do things most people do not do. A lot of people do not have character. A lot of people don't care about people. They care about themselves over other people. But in spite of that fact, women still want you to be a husband to them, even if they won't be a wife to you.
So you was let me ask you a question, another question. So you paying bills?
I would, but not now. But it's like, listen, this is what
Okay,
I'm saying.
HD.
Listen, I think every woman isn't worthy of everything that you have. And when you find women that are worthy of that, they should get more than the women that aren't. Matter of fact, if you find that a woman is completely not for you and she's disrespectful and this, that, and the third, I remove myself immediately. I'm
I
like,
agree with that. Why
yo,
would you want to be disrespected?
I'm just saying, but the thing is like sometimes women are so used to not being heard the perspective of a man that they literally walk around thinking they are okay and they can do whatever they want until they meet a brother and be like, huh, you're gonna find out today. And he goes in the opposite direction. My only thing is my argument to this whole entire thing is I don't think you or people in general really understand the beauty of black people. We're probably some of the most damaged people, and we're also some of the most beautiful people. And even though we have our issues, we still are some of the most physically appealing people. And think about it. I tell people all the time, all the stuff that women, black women say on Instagram and TikTok, that thing becomes an instant sensation. Like instant. Period. You know, you did that. I love that for you. You women, especially black women, do not understand the amount of power that you guys wield, but y'all use it on stupid stuff. And that's the stuff that be getting me upset, is because it's just like if you only knew, if you made this slight adjustment, the amount
Well,
of greatness that would be experienced in the communities and in families. And it's the same thing that this woman is saying. The reason why she's calling out black women is because she probably already know if women did what black women did what she did, the game would be over. There would be nothing but
Over.
crumbs for the rest of the women if a lot of the black women just made the transition. The problem is, since women are free to do whatever they want, they choose the wrong brothers, and then they give what they should have gave to a different guy to the wrong guy, and they take that pain from man to man, and now they got this trauma and these issues that continue to dilute what they're really supposed to be doing with their lives. And I just be like, yo, like, it's the transition is so simple, but the problem is the execution is the hard part.
And let me, because this is going to go into the next video, and I think the next video is important. It's going to go into this conversation because I have a question about what it is that you just said. Okay, so give me a second while I play this one.
I want to ask you something Columbus Shore said, since we're talking about that. He said he got some heat for saying that black men are dating outside their race because most black women are raised by single mothers and absentee fathers and taught a don't need a man mentality. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's what I would say to my brother Columbus Short, and I'm a fan of his. Are we not all victims of the systemic oppression and injustice that racism has introduced into our community? So just as you have black women who didn't grow up with their father, you have black men who didn't grow up with their fathers or their mothers. In other words, why is it acceptable for the black man raised by a black woman without his dad to reject a black woman raised by her mother without her dad? I think sometimes black men can be guilty of a double standard where we want a perfect offering when we ourselves are not a perfect offering. And to that point, I think black men need to recognize the fact that one of the reasons we have so much conflict with black women is because we don't operate on a masculine platform with our women all the time. We tend to operate on a female platform. For example, when the woman gets angry, rather than you trying to understand your queen non-emotionally. See, you can't have both people in a relationship with a low emotional IQ. Because if both people in a home, if you and your wife both have a low emotional IQ, if you and your wife both have a low emotional IQ, y'all going to argue over everything because nobody says, I am not going to emote over this. I'm not going to deal with this with feelings. I'm going to use reason and intelligence. That's what the man is supposed to do. Yeah. But guess what we do? Raised by single mothers, many of us, we reflect right back to them that emotional trauma that they throwing on us. So in essence, you have two females arguing, although one is in a man's body. Black men have to.
So the reason why and I should have separated the two, but I'll do one first. Because it was something that you had spoke of, HD. And I think that this is where it goes wrong, right? I think in you stated women get with the wrong brother. And I would assume when you say brother, I mean, you're meaning a black man, right? And he damages her. But I would say the same to men. You get with the wrong sister and she damages you. And now you think that all women don't bring plates in the morning. You think all women don't do these things. And I think it's just the result. I mean, it's just a case of both dating the wrong people and being damaged because they're dating the wrong people. Does that make sense? I think we both equally do it.
I think that you also have to understand, like, if you're not around it, you're not going to be able to see it. So even though you may know that there are men that do XYZ and women that do XYZ, if you have a group of people that aren't around that, just like you speak from your perspective of what you're seeing, they're speaking from their perspective and what they see. And I try to look at things because many people be like, well, Harrison, you don't have the testimony that these men have. I'm like, I don't. However, even though I don't have that testimony, I can listen to them and put the bigger piece of the puzzle together. I can sit here and say, well, there's these men that experience this. There's these men that experience this. And I can put the big picture together and actually get a more well-rounded thought process that say, hey, my personal experience doesn't necessarily speak for the whole. And I can sit here and say, and I can still have compassion for the sisters and for the brothers and understand, like, yo, just because I don't experience what everybody else experiences, that doesn't mean I can't sympathize with what they're going through.
I would agree with that. I think that's what we all are here doing, you know. I think I think that it just becomes it's a disservice when we throw everybody in a box and we overlook the people who are doing. Because I think that there are a lot of people who are serving their men, who are cooking for their men, who are sitting down raising their children, and we keep giving so much credit to the streets. What we're really doing is saying in these streets, people are not acting like husband and wives, but it's the streets. You feel me? If you banging a chick once a week or whenever and you got nothing going on with her, what does she owe you? What do you owe her? Now, like AP said, if we were courting correctly, if we were all going in with intent, the right intentions on dating and taking us to a different level, we will have a more accurate idea of what really is taking place. But we keep judging everything off of the streets, and that's not accurate.
So this is where I disagree. I don't disagree. I just think that his statement was incomplete. He said that there were men operating in the feminine, I guess is what he was trying to say, and I don't agree with that. I believe it just looks a little different. I'll go into that in a minute. But he forgot to add that using his context, that there are women acting in the masculine. So when you got women acting in the masculine and men acting in the feminine, you're going to automatically run into an issue because at the end of the day, men still are the head. And you can't have two people trying to be the head. It just doesn't work that way. So I just think that he didn't complete
Well,
the
I
statement. And
stopped.
I would say that's where the
He does. I just stopped.
okay.
Yeah, he does mention that it makes her become more masculine, and it's so funny that you say because we hear that a lot in these spaces. Why are you so emotional? Well, because she's a female. If you don't want her to be emotional, then you're asking her to be more in the masculine. And I think a lot of people don't understand that you're trying to take the emotion out of now you can be emotionally intelligent and kind of hold back and just control the way you're saying things, but women act on that we're emotional creatures, right? So to tell a woman to stop being emotional is like saying stop being a woman. That's like me telling a man stop being logical because you're a man. You're supposed to be.
And see, and that was kind of the point I was going to get to because what I don't think is, I don't think men act in the feminine. And I don't think women act in the masculine. I think that women are overall more emotional. So when when they perceive you're not leading properly, it's going to come off as extremely masculine. But basically, it's just them being emotional. And when men are being emotional, it's it, it it's more it comes out heavier, I'd say. I don't think it's them being feminine, it's just them being deeply emotional. And I won't say that's a man being, I used to, and I listened to Ali, and Ali made a lot of sense to me. I don't think that men or women operate in a feminine, masculine opposite. I don't think that happens. It just is heightened and it looks different for both. And back to the point, we and I think men need to take the lead on this. We need to start being more. At the end of the day, we need to be more intentional. And a lot of that other foolishness will stop if we are being intentional. If we're willing to drop women because they're not moving the way we want them to move and stop being mesmerized by the box because sometimes that box will wrap you up a little bit. And we got to be willing to say, you know what, nah, sis, this ain't the way it's going to be, and if this is the way you want it, thank you for your time. And I think vice versa. And I think women need to be willing to say, well, shit, if he's not going to give me what I want, I need to move on. And I just think that we shit, and I've said this a million times, we spend a lot of time wasting time on some bullshit. I think we do that entirely too much. We need to start being more purposeful in the way we move.
It,
And I'll stop talking there for a moment.
I was gonna say, like, I agree with AP, and I've said this before about this idea of masculine, feminine, this kind of stuff. When I just think a lot of it is just human behavior, right? So a man arguing with a woman, and I know, people will disagree, and I'm okay with that, but I don't necessarily think that it is feminine to go back and forth. I think it's immaturity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think, we're labeling things. I would say we're mislabeling things because we're trying to place human expression or human experiences in a box and say only this group can do this. And if the other group do that, then that makes them masculine. Only, and vice versa. And so we pigeonhole people into only being able to be who they are based on what societal standards say. This is what you need to be. This is what you need to be. And the problem with that is what we deal with now, where men are feeling like they can't express themselves because that's too feminine. So they never learn to develop their emotional IQ because society tells them that you're not supposed to, understand this or do this. That's what women do. You know what I'm saying? And then vice versa. If there are women who are very adept at problem solving, they're go-getters, they're goal-oriented, then society is say, oh, you're acting too masculine. That's just her makeup. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the things that I get frustrated with, because you don't allow the person to uh, be the full expression of themselves. And I'm not saying that there isn't a way to develop certain things, like needing to reel things in. Like when you're arguing, like I said, going back and forth is not a male female thing. It's an immaturity thing. Even if a female is emotional, there's nothing wrong with being emotional. You're built like that. If a man is emotional, I don't think it's a masculine, a feminine thing to be emotional. It's when either or gets overly emotional is the problem. If you don't maintain your emotion when you're having a conversation, you cease to have a conversation at that point. So it's important that both people keep check of their emotions. So that's my take on it. I don't like using those labels, trying to call somebody feminine because they are, debating or arguing or going back and forth.
Yeah, I would say I agree that immaturity is the bigger thing, but men and women don't receive information the same. They don't receive emotions the same. So a man being emotional in certain ways to a woman, even if he's not being overly emotional, can turn a woman to think that this man is strange to him, to her, right? But when the shoe is on the other foot, when women are being quote unquote overly emotional, we just say that it's annoying, but we can deal with it a lot better because of the way that we're wired. So I don't think we
I would say
really
conditioned, not necessarily wired.
no,
Conditioned.
I think wired, because there's certain things that when a man cries in front of you, depending on what it is, you're gonna look at him kind of strange.
Because of conditioning.
But it's not just conditioning.
It
It's just that
is.
it's not just because of conditioning. It's just a natural reaction. If a guy comes up to you, your husband does something that you think is real fruity, and he starts talking real weird to you, you're gonna be like, well, first of all, you don't talk like this. No. Second of all, if he's acting in this fruity way, right? More than likely, you're gonna be like, "Where's the man at?" He's acting somewhat feminine, and you will turn around and be like, "Ooh, I don't like this." Go back to the man, and it's not conditioning. It's just what it is that you are attracted to. There's just natural things that's
I
in
think that
you.
can still be in a conditioning.
It
Not
is
conditioning.
because men are taught not to cry, right? So in essence, even though you all are taught not to cry, the other end of that coin is that women have the expectation that men don't cry. So we're buying into that same conditioning. So when that happens, we're also conditioned to understand masculinity the same way that you guys were conditioned to believe what masculinity is. So if you're taught not to cry, we don't expect you to cry. We're taught not to express your emotions. On the other end, we're understanding that men don't do that. So both of us are getting the same condition. And so, yes, of course, I'm going to feel some kind of way if I believe that men don't cry or express their emotions. And then you come to me as a man and you're boo-hooing about something and then just, oh, I just feel and da, 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 da. I may look now, I'm not that type, but I'm just saying for sake of example, is that I may feel uncomfortable about that because I've never had experienced a man who was secure enough in himself to be able to cry and express their emotions, because that was nothing that I was taught that men do. So that's what I'm trying to say. That's where the conditioning comes in. We're both being conditioned to believe the same thing. Just
I
like
do.
y'all are supposed to be providers. At one point, the only idea behind provision for the most part was get money. Make sure as long as you got money, you could pay the bills in the house, you a man, you a good husband. Whereas now that's no longer the norm, but yet we still perpetuate that idea because of conditioning.
I agree. There is some level of conditioning, but the reason why I also argue that it's just genetic wiring is because these are the things that each other needs to feel secure. If you got a guy who's emotionally all over the place, you're not going to feel good when you're emotionally all over the place. Vice
Do you
versa.
think women feel good when they're emotionally all over the place?
No, and that's the reason why you want a guy that doesn't that has his emotions in check, so that you can get your emotions in check. You say, well, if he ain't tripping, why am I tripping? That's what I'm saying. There is a biological wiring for these things for survival. Because the thing is you need what I got, and I got what you need. So you just like you need what I got, and I got what you need. My bad. But it's just like I just don't think that well, I think you understand. You're a smart woman. But yes, there's conditioning. I agree. But I think that there's just certain hard wiring things. If you like men and you're a woman, you're not looking for women or traits in women and men. You're looking for things that are opposite of women. Same thing with men. If men like women, they're going to be looking for the qualities that women naturally exude. And we're hardwired to want that because guess what? If we were both the same, like say for instance, if men only mess with men, the whole entire world would die because you can't procreate. Same thing. If women only mess with women, the entire world would die because there's no way to procreate. That's the reason why we were designed differently so that when we come together, we can continue to grow society. But when we say that, people would be looking at us like we crazy. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. So when
I
you
actually
say
agree with you, HD.
so when you say naturally, so one thing that we know is each individual is on a spectrum, right? Of they might have a little more like as a man, you might have a little more testosterone than another man, right? Or as a woman, I may have a little more estrogen, or I can have a little more testosterone than a woman with estrogen, right? So when we're talking about those things, when we say you're natural, if as a woman, I typically, if I have, as a matter of fact, I do with PCOS, because I have that, I tend to have more testosterone than an average woman, right? So with that being said, there are going to be certain attributes or physicalities with me that I might have that Shan might not have due to the fact that I have more testosterone. But then you'll say that, like, oh, that person is being masculine. But it's like you said, it's a natural biological rationale behind that. Same thing that can happen with men. You might have a man that have a little more estrogen. And those things can come out in certain ways, and they be, oh, he's a little feminine, which I think is very unfair because that is natural to you and your makeup, and to me and my makeup. And so when we try to put these people in a box, it make them not actually enjoy the full expression of their individual humanity. Now, if I wasn't secure in myself, I would feel like, well, I don't know what I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like insecure about my femininity. But my femininity doesn't have to look like Shan's. I ain't going around like, trying to, I don't know, like I'm very secure and clear on the fact that I'm not a man, nor do I want to be a man. And I think when people are secure in who they are, they're much more comfortable in expressing certain things, and they don't necessarily stay in a box. So that's been my experience. The more secure that I know a man that knows who he is, he's okay with not necessarily conforming to all of the norms of society. They set their own standards, their own rules for their lives, and live by that.
I agree 100%. Brothers should lead, and that means that you're going to have to go against the grain sometimes. Mm-hmm. I also agree that it is unfair, but that's just the reality of the world. Some people get born taller, some people are more attractive, some people have the ability to, think very differently and take information differently. Listen, the world isn't necessarily a fair place. That's why I always say focus on the people that rock with you. Like, if you have somebody that doesn't, agree with you, find somebody that will agree with you. That's why the word says, how can two walk together unless they agree? Like, it'd be the simple stuff that if we would just get the simple stuff done, we can tackle a lot of the harder issues. But we don't know how to listen. We talk too much. We don't actually genuinely care about other people besides ourselves. And, we preoccupy ourselves with things that actually don't benefit us in the long run. And these are the things that's causing us to continue to have issues with each other when the solutions to our problems are simple. I just want to challenge people to be like, hey, listen, you may be the reason why we have the problems that we have now. Are you willing to turn around, make some adjustments, and not be the things that you say are the issue? Because this is like, I told somebody, I said, as much as I like beefing when mistaken, you help in some ways adjust how I interact with people, especially with ladies, because knowing what women go through, knowing how they are affected by certain things, to just give like a lot to women and then just take it away, that just seems cruel, right? And especially if it's a respectable woman. So it's just like, I've learned to just like, hey, you got to slow down. Don't be in a rush. Don't be doing a whole bunch of nonsense. But it's just like, I think the older generation really sold us a bad bill of goods, and we tried to hold up to the standard that they gave us, and we find out it's hard to maintain the thing because we don't live in the same environment. A lot of the older folks, they had a really tough environment. So when you go through tough things, you learn things quickly and you adapt to that environment. This environment isn't really conducive to building a lot of the skills necessary in order for them to maintain a lot of long-term relationships, in my opinion.
Did anybody else want to? Because I still want to talk about the first part. Do you guys think it's a double standard? Do I need to repeat? Do I need to play the video again?
What part of it?
I can play it again.
Okay.
I want to ask you something Columbus Short said since we're talking about that.
Sure.
He said he got some heat for saying that black men are dating outside their race because most black women are raised by single mothers and absentee fathers and taught a don't need a man mentality. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's what I would say to my brother Columbus Short, and I'm a fan of his. Are we not all victims of the systemic oppression and injustice that racism has introduced into our community? So just as you have black women who didn't grow up with their father, you have black men who didn't grow up with their fathers or their mothers. In other words, why is it acceptable for the black man raised by a black woman without his dad to reject a black woman raised by her mother without her dad? I think sometimes black men can be guilty of a double standard where we want a perfect offering when we ourselves are not a perfect offering. And to that point, I think black men need to recognize the fact that one of the reasons we have so much conflict with black.
I personally do not agree that majority of men don't want a quote unquote perfect offering. What we want is for you to try. And a lot of women just don't be trying because they tired. They work hard just like the men work hard, and they do all the things that the men do now. And it's just like, yo, it's like they just like, I'm tired. And the stuff that you want me to do, I just don't feel like doing it because I'm just tired. And I just like, it's unfortunate because, they have to make money and pay bills and take care of themselves until a man is willing to do so. But it's just like, it's a very tough spot for men and women because we have adapted behaviors for survival that isn't conducive to being in relationships.
Yes, there's a double standard. I didn't want to admit that. There is a double standard. And I wholly agree with what HD said. I wholly agree with it. But before I continue my answer, ladies, what do you regularly ask from your man?
Time.
That's it.
You said on a regular. Yes, that is something that will occur on a daily basis. I need time.
What does same goes for you, Shan?
Yeah.
What do you ask of your man? I mean, what does your man ask of you regularly?
So there are things that he has made very clear that he likes. And that is, he likes breakfast, like I was saying, breakfast in the morning. If he has to go to work, he likes his lunch to be, and so those things, I usually have like a lunch box in the refrigerator, when he goes to lunch. Yeah.
What about you, Miss?
I would say a lot of the stuff that he requests requires, and when I say physical labor, I don't mean like, oh, I'm building something, but like where I say time. Time isn't necessarily physical, so to speak. We can sit and watch TV, we can go for a walk, or we can talk or whatever. So quality time could be many different things. Whereas I think a lot of the things that he wants is more physical labor. So it may be making him, dinner, or can you go upstairs and get da 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 da? Can you, iron, my clothes, or can you pack my lunch for me? Stuff like that.
So
Can you give me,
both of
no, let's stop.
both of stop it. I'm trying to stay away from it. Um, so both of you, would you accept the premise that your man has had a long day and he just wants to be alone? Let's call it 2 days in a row. Do you accept that?
I give him
Yes and no. I need some FaceTime. It doesn't have to be drawn out all right, babe, just more so check in, because that's a routine that we've had. So even if you need time to yourself, I'm cool with that. But just check in, like, hey, babe, hey, how was your day? It was rough and da da da. Because that gives me a sense of where he's at. So sometimes he won't even have to ask for time to himself. Just in that 10-minute conversation when he comes in, how was your day? I can kind of sense like, okay. You
Okay,
need, babe, you need anything? And I know he just needs to be off to himself.
so
for
so
me.
it go ahead.
So for me, it's a little bit different because I too like time. So I've told y'all this over and over again. So the great thing about me and my guy, we be like in the same kind of time. Like I just like yesterday, let's get a little break for a second. You know what I'm saying? But we'll check in with each other for sure.
Mhm.
But it does not have to be this
So,
long conversation or, it doesn't have to be any of that. So I think I probably request a little bit less time than mistaken does.
But
okay, that
he actually established the check-in,
Uh-huh.
like for us. That was something that he set up. Because
I'm
I
gonna
remember
stop asking you questions.
because remember I told y'all.
And that goes with your relationship. That's why what makes you guys compatible. And
Mhm.
so that's the reason why me and my guy work so well, because that makes us compatible. We like the same type of, but when we talk and it'd be like, you know.
Mhm.
So and the reason I asked is because I was trying to dive a little bit further into HD's argument, because there oftentimes is a lot of pushback on what we, and I don't know if I speak for all men, but I'll say most men, what we expect to be something you want to do, and something that, quite frankly, in our minds should be basic dinner. We understand that for example, that you may have had a long day at work, but is it too much to ask that you put something in the crock pot so that I can have some dinner when I get home? Was that too difficult before you left for work?
Yeah.
Was it too difficult
I don't think
for?
I think
If
that
you
I
got to go to work at 6:45, meaning that you're
well,
getting up at 5 o'clock to get ready to get to work and say yes, because then that means now I have to wake up at 4:30 to. So yeah, but what could be helpful is if that's something that you want, is to help me help you. That would be maybe take the meat out the night before so it can be thawed. Maybe cut up some onions so that'll already be in there. So then when I get up, I could just throw the stuff in a crock pot, season that up, and we're good to go.
So we gotta make sure we communicate. We
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure, if we're not going to give you the time that you're asked, that you normally want, we got to make sure we communicate what's going on with our day. And then at the end of our long day, if we want to have dinner and we know you're going to have a long day the next day, we now got to help you meal prep so that we can actually have food without ordering out the next day. Yeah, there are double standards.
Mm-hmm. And that's how we feel, because that's the expectation that y'all have. Even though you're doing your 8 hours, I'm doing my 8 hours, but then I'm also expected to come home and then put in another 4 hours 5 hours. You know what I'm saying?
And so I think it's important. I think that's the part that leads to the divorce. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that women want to be married. They don't want to be overworked. The guy who figures out that if I'm going to make her pay half the bills, that means I'm going to help her out. I wouldn't even want her to slave. If you see your woman overworked, drained, and this is a person that you love, if I see anybody that I love drained, I'm going to ask, hey, can I help you with that? It ain't even got to be my husband. It could be anybody that I love. I see my mom and she looks like she's overworked. I'm going to say, Mom, do you need help with that? Because I love her. That's what people who love people do. They don't want to run them down. That's not the point in a partnership, right? Just like she's helping you, you should be willing to. Why would you want to be with somebody who you only want them to help you, but you never help them? That's crazy to me. You know, in a situation where you see now, most of the time, Monday, Tuesday, 2 times out of the week, she's cool. Several times, there are going to be times when people get tired for different reasons, right? And you may have to step in. I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm just saying if you have children running around the house is and she's the only person who's cleaning up, you two are an able body. Like if you see something, like at least discipline the kids so they won't be putting stuff down. Do something besides sitting there saying, oh, I worked all day, as if you're the only person who worked all day. Like, you know, that's not even attractive. If I came into your house and I saw you slaving and your man was just sitting there, that's not even on the outside looking in, that's not attractive to anybody. Like, and it has nothing to do with being man. It's just about you're being a partner to, and partner does not mean that you guys are equal. I do believe men are the lead of the household, but I think that men should not be lazy. That's just not cute. If you're contributing to the issues in the house, you putting stuff down and you're not helping to clean, you're nasty, man. You are a nasty man. If you sitting there, your drawers on the floor and your shoes everywhere and you tracking mud and putting stuff down, you are a nasty man.
Listen, I agree with you, Shan. We should be able to pick up after ourselves. I get it. Here's my only pushback. You talk about working an entire day and you'd be like, all right, well, I worked an entire day. You worked an entire day. Yeah, I don't feel like cooking, right? Men ain't asking women to cook all the time. Women have the ability to cook, but choose not to. Because just like the men, you have learned to be like, I'm going to choose convenience over doing the hard thing that actually benefit us in the long run. And let's also think about this. If you did not have a man and he wasn't helping paying the bills, he wasn't providing some of those solutions and helping with your life and doing these things that you regularly benefit from, you would be doing all this stuff by yourself. You would be at home working your full day.
Would you not be doing this stuff by yourself too? Are you not doing the same thing if you didn't have a woman? Just like this is the thing. This is the double standard. You want a woman to bring value to your life, but what value are you bringing to her life?
We bring the value. We bring everything you ask us to bring. That's why you with us. You might not like how we do it, but we bring all the stuff that you want. We bring the penis that you want. We bring the money that you want. We bring the time, the affection. There's mad stuff men don't want to do for women, but we do it because we know that it's what you want.
It's not working.
I think though, in terms of what y'all say, in terms of like we take out the trash, we problem solve, we do, like if you really look at pound for pound, and I know y'all don't like this, like, oh, it's too fat.
Like to play for men to be so logical. This don't make sense to them. I believe that it's a
okay. You take out the trash. Okay, how often are you taking out the trash? Let's keep it real. Trash may get taken out maybe every other day.
And for how many minutes does that last? How many minutes does it take?
Hold on. Then you say you wash the cars. Are you washing the car every day? That's something that might happen once or twice a month. You're cutting the grass. That's seasonal. Like and I'm not saying that those things aren't appreciated. Don't get me wrong. It is. I would rather not have to take out the trash. So the fact that you do it every day, every other day means I don't have to do it at all. So that I'm not remiss on that. But what I'm trying to say is that those responsibilities, a lot of your responsibilities are not daily responsibilities. And I think that's what women are saying in terms of the balance and expectations of those things. So it's not that we have a problem doing it, but like HD said, the expectation of those things to be done every day. Now, I must say, as we have progressed in our marriage, those things are not an issue as much as it was in my younger years when we were together, because I was working just like him. And I know some of the comments were like, man usually work harder than it. That wasn't my case. My husband had his 9 to 5. I had my 9 to 5, and I was going to school, and we had a young son. So all of those responsibilities fell on me. And so I, because I'm trying to live up to this societal expectation of what society says that men expect. So I was still coming home, giving baths by myself, to my son, cooking after coming home from college or whatever, and still had schoolwork that I had to do, and work, because as a teacher, even though it's supposed to be a 9 to 5, you're still bringing stuff home to grade, all of that kind of stuff. So it was a lot. So was there resentment? Absolutely. The nerve that you have expectation that I got to cook every day. You know what I'm saying? So I think what changes is having those conversations. And I think the resentment was unfair on him because he didn't necessarily know where it was coming from. Even though in my mind, I'm like, you should know. But that's where those conversations need to occur. So now that, we're kid free now, but when the kids left, because one thing that I do know about men, and this has been consistent among not just in my household, just in speaking to women, is that men have a tendency to, if y'all have kids, will offset their responsibilities so they don't have to do anything. For example, garbage was, my husband, but what did he do? He trained my son to take out the garbage. So now he's not having to take out the garbage. Mowing the lawn. My husband used to do that, but then guess what he did? He started training my son to mow the lawn. So
he prepared your son to be a man?
Yeah. But my point is then at that point, if you only had garbage to take out, which was every other day, cutting the grass, which was twice a month for a season, and whatever other chores there were, you outsourced them and had your kids do them. What are you doing other than going to work and then you get to chill? But as the mom, we got to manage all of that. And then we're tired, and now you well rested and rest. So now it's time to go to bed, and you asking for some, and then I say no because I'm tired. Then it's like, see, there's a problem. Y'all don't understand that.
Better starfish it. Quit playing.
Let me say this too.
Y'all don't understand those things because y'all are not looking to be of assistance. Y'all are not looking to be of service. Y'all are looking to be served. And I think that's where the conflict comes in and where the resentment comes in and what leads to the divorce.
And let me say this too, and I think it just piggybacks on, and this is obviously if you're married, this is not your situation, but it gives you an eye on why, and this is not everybody. Some women don't mind doing all these things. I want to make that very, very clear. But that's why you're getting into this whole new environment or new era of, if he don't got money, then because I know you're not going to overwork me and expect this. Women do want to be in the kitchen. Women do want to serve their men. They just don't want to be ran down doing it, right? So they feel like the way to get around that is, if I marry a guy who can pay the bills, it would at least give me the time to be able to do all the things that so they're trying to accommodate the situation, so to speak. Or some women are just choosing not to be with a man at all. They're like, okay, I'll call him when I want to call him. I'm okay with being single. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna always have a dude that want to lay up with me and, you know, be my companion. So why? And it doesn't come with the responsibility of, you know, having to do all of this labor for a man who just does not, you know, care about my well-being, or just wants to just take and never give. So I think that that's what is taking place at this point. And the men who are givers are the ones who are you know, are winning. They got 2, 3, 4 women. They ain't got one. They got a lot of them.
I'm gonna let HD go because I want to address one comment in the chat, and I saw HD shaking his head just a minute ago. Go
What
ahead and
was
rock out, bro.
it? What was it?
Address it.
No,
Say it.
Well, I can pull. Let
no,
me pull it up.
I'm gonna address it, but I want HD to go ahead because I saw him shaking his head when y'all was talking, and I'm gonna
Shan
let
said
him get.
she's gonna pull it up, so that's why she
Yeah,
said.
if you tell me which one it is, I'll pull it up for you.
It was I think the person's name is Big Boss, and
And
it
which say?
and she said, hold on, AP, I gotta find it. Go ahead, HD. I'm gonna find it and I'll say it.
Listen, people have kids to do their bidding. I guarantee you, both of y'all, lovely ladies, when you became of age, you were said, hey, you got to wash these clothes, you got to wash these dishes, you got to start learning how to make meals. The thing is, that's why a lot of parents have kids. And you're sitting up here
Is
saying,
that why they have?
oh, well, the men are outsourcing their abilities and their skills. You know, they're giving it to their sons, and it's acting like women don't make their daughters or even make their sons. I listen, I know so many cousins that are men that are chefs in the kitchen because they were sitting right next to grandma. They were sitting right next to their mama, and they cook and they clean all day. Don't argue, don't complain about it. They be in the kitchen like they Emerald Lagasse out
And
there,
then
you
they
know,
go
putting a
back and
little
resent
fire.
their parents. Then they complain about
What?
their parents when they get of age and resent them and all of that. Y'all see it.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. The brothers that I know, and like I said, this is my circle, right? The brothers that I know that were taught to cook and taught to clean. Listen, these are some of the most loving and caring brothers that I know. I got
That's
one
what's
brother
up.
in particular. He is a certified chef. And when I tell you the way he loves and serves his kids, man, when it's so real that when he used to get close to the door of his house, you can hear the elation that daddy's home, and they rush to the door. And I just heard this over the phone, and I said, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. I would close that door and go right back into my car because the fanfare this man received, I mean, it was a lot. But I also realized, I said, yo, listen, like sometimes when men have to like overexert themselves, they just say that's just my lot in life. When women have to overexert themselves, they're like, nah, Negro, you need to help. You need to do this, that, and the third. So it's just like, oh, well, I guess I got to go to scripture. It seems like men are so used to suffering that we expect you to suffer just like we're expected to suffer.
That's crazy to me, though. Like, what?
I'm saying, but
Isn't
I'm telling
the
you, like
goal?
men, we be suffering.
It's crazy because isn't the goal when we get together to
To make each
alleviate at
other's
least
lives
half of the
easier.
suffering? At least alleviate half of the suffering. Like y'all said, if you're on your own, each individual is doing 100% by themselves, right? So when we get together, it should be, well, at least we alleviate 50% of those responsibilities that we were doing by ourselves. But what it ends up seeming, and I know I'm clearly only speaking from a woman's perspective because I'm not a man, I'm not in your head. I can only go by what I've experienced and what I've seen, is that the woman ends up taking on more when she gets married. And especially when you add kids into the mix. And so what I mean is on each individual level, when she's by herself, she was taking out her own trash, right? You were taking out your own trash. You were figuring out meals. A lot of times what I find men do, they outsource their meals. They'll get somebody to, cook it, or they'll go out and they'll go eat or whatever. A
100%.
woman, yeah, she may cook a meal, but that meal will last her for 2-3 days because she doesn't eat.
All Negroes would eat it in one day.
Right.
Like
it's one sitting, a whole meal that would have taken you, that would have been your lunch and next day dinner. Plus, if you felt like it, you can also split it up into a lunch. So you have 3 meals out of one meal that you've cooked. Whereas with y'all, that one meal that took us 3 days to eat, that's one sitting for y'all.
Ninjas be hungry now.
Right. So for her, the grocery bill goes up when she gets with y'all. She has to cook more often if she's responsible for the cooking. The expectation for the laundry, she's not just only going to be doing her laundry, she's doing your laundry too. So like your plate gets lifted when it comes to the household responsibilities. Hers get added on to. And I don't think that y'all necessarily appreciate that. And the reason you don't appreciate it, because I had this conversation with my daughter before, is an expectation. You can't, it's hard to appreciate something that you have an expectation for. And I think that's, even as women do it, it would make it a little better if y'all appreciated it. And the appreciation comes with, you know what, babe? Let me help you with those dishes. I got it. You rest today. Appreciation comes with, don't worry about it. I'm going to order dinner tonight because I know it's late. I know you tired. You know what I'm saying? That's that. So that's where the appreciation come in. Like how Shan said, if I saw my mom, struggling, I'm going to be like, Mom, how can I help? Y'all don't necessarily pick up on those cues.
They don't. I know men who do. It's just some men do. Some men don't do that. They be helping. They be helping. And them the ones that be staying married.
So, lots to unpack. First thing I want to address is Big Boss comment. Her comment was.
Did he just click himself off trying to figure out what the comment was?
Yeah.
But let me say this. And that whole protecting thing, right? I'm a single woman. I've been single, and just how I move, right? I can't think of really when I've needed, and God forbid, I've learned how to say stuff like that.
Shit, won't he do it?
Yes, he does.
He just want you to pull that comment up.
I know which comment he's talking about.
She said AP mentality is he doesn't want a wife, he wants a maid. Ma'am, you would be so. I'm getting there.
Oh.
You would be so fortunate to be my wife. You realize I bring in a maid. I used to bring in a maid 4 days a week. She knocked it down to 2. I'd keep it at 4. I actually do my own laundry because I like my clothes folded a certain way, and I believe it to be unfair for me to ask her to do my clothes the way I want my clothes done. And since I like it done a very specific way, I do my own clothes. We used to have meal prep. She canceled that because she wanted to grow a garden and she wanted to make sure that we ate properly. That's what she did. You would be so fortunate to be in her place. You know how many bills she pays? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Not one. Not nan one. Not nan one. So, you would be so fortunate. So, until you understand, you just making raggedy ass statements, from a raggedy ass woman who has never had a man treat her the way a man is supposed to treat a woman. So enjoy your life. I said what I said. So speaking of talking about helping out, y'all are right. There is a level, in my opinion, where men should help out. He should be able to know his wife or a girl or whatever they are well enough to know when she is empty. With that being said, there are still expectations that are in the home that need to be done, whether it's daily, bi-weekly, monthly. Those expectations need to be met because you set those expectations early on in the relationship. Miss Taken has already spoken about it. She said that's what he decided on. We talked about it, and that's what works for us. That's how you have successful relationships. You said all of that right out the gate, and either you choose to accept it or you don't, but you don't waste any time when you know that that is not something you can keep up. If you really want to know what my expectation, how I think about
Don't
relationships.
start now, won't be done.
Well, there's a caveat to that. And the reason I say that is because sometimes you think you can, like if you've never have, and you're like, oh, okay, I can do that.
If you've never had kids, you don't know that
right
kids
until
will
you
run you
actually
down.
get in it, and then you realize, like, whoa, this is a little more than what I anticipated. So there should always be room for renegotiation or conversation around that. So when you get, and I think that's a level of maturity, because I think me and my husband had to get to that point, because before we would have these rigid rules about, this is the expectation that I have for you, this is the expectation that you have of me, and it didn't matter, rain or sleet, snow, shine, like it was expected to be done. And that's unrealistic when life is lifing. And so we had to go back to the table and have conversations over again, because what was once doable no longer became doable because the environment and the time changed.
See, I won't say you had to have how did you word it, redo the conversation. No, you just reevaluated where you were in life. And that conversation is also necessary because things change. He might lose his job. You might lose your job. Hell, I'm not wishing this on anybody, but you could be in a car wreck and lose your arm. Things happen in life. And if your spouse, your partner is in it with you, y'all should be able to have that conversation, have that communication to say, "Hey, I got you with your one arm ass. I'll go ahead and take care of X, Y, and Z. It's all right. I know you got that peg leg, Eileen. I will make sure that we get this taken care of. It is okay." And I'm
I know
glad
you
y'all get my sense of humor. But all of those things are always being constantly reevaluated. And also, when it comes to kids, from the men that I know, and yes, it looks like we are doing the fun part where y'all say that's not hard. But while you're cooking, who's playing with the kids, occupying the kids? I don't know how y'all relationship is, but for me, I was the one occupying the kids. That was what I did. I love that. Now when I get tired of that little ass, I'm gonna give you back to your mama. But but while she cooking, I got you. But I also am the one that tucked them in. I'm the one that kissed on the forehead. Those I'm just saying, like, if that's something that you require as a woman where you need that kind of help to get to get y'all through those things, don't get a man that won't do it.
Well, you know what? And I have to give as a woman, to take accountability on, I think a lot of times women expect you guys to see that they need help and not necessarily be specific about asking for the help. And so and I know for me, I was guilty of that. And then I resented the fact that you didn't pick up or notice that I needed help. And it was like I said, I have to take full ownership in that. But once I express that to you and I'm specific, and then it still doesn't happen, then that becomes a problem. But for me, it was definitely like, why should I have to ask him for help? Doesn't he see? Doesn't he know I'm working?
I
Doesn't
think
he
that
know
they
I'm going to school? Doesn't he know, TJ needs a bath? Like, those are things that could have already been taken care of before I even got home. I wasn't getting home sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night. And
I'm
like,
I'm
I
gonna
still
tell you
got
the truth. I'm
and
gonna tell
mad.
you the truth. The fact when y'all get that shit all done, that's what we called, man, she a bad bitch. Golly. I
it
know
was.
if I had all that going on in my day, woo, the way you manage it as a woman, woo, like when you we might not express it the way y'all want it expressed, but that's the shit we think. I'm telling you, like, God,
But
oh girl, you
AP,
did all that?
and I understand what you're saying, but literally, and I don't know if you guys go to your homecomings, right? I don't know what schools y'all went to. I went to an HBCU. The married women be looking like they done aged 10 years faster than everybody else. And they just like it's hard times, you know? And I see what you're saying. You're saying she's a baddie. But you gotta look at the hell, everything that comes along with that stress. You do not want a stressed out wife. You
It
feel me?
sounds like
I
men. I
no,
see
is
men. I
is
don't see
it,
black men just based on your comment there, and I think this is part of the issue is that it seems like black women are measured by how much they suffer in terms of being a good woman, and I don't think other women are measured by that same standard. I just wanted to point that out.
I don't agree
I,
because
I,
the
I don't
thing
I don't
is
agree with
that
that either. I think that because I think that this would be an argument that both men, white, a lot of women, especially in the West, have about period, right? That's their arg. I think that that's just their argument. They overwork, they go to job. At least the ones who have to work, right? Or the ones who care about certain things, especially when you're in a situation where you got to work and you care about her appearance as well. That's a lot. You're asking for a lot from a person. But I also believe that the double standard. So let me ask you a question. I think it's okay for men to have the expectation of, hey, I want my meal at least, you cook at least 3 times a week, 3, 4 times a week, right? I think it's okay for a man to want a woman to keep a nice house as long as he himself is a clean person, right? I don't think that it's fair if he's a nasty person and he feels like the woman should clean up after him. But I do believe that she should keep a clean house as he should keep a clean. He should be a clean person. I think that that's a fair thing to ask. But I find it funny how women are held to a certain standard when it comes to the expectation of them. But when it comes to a tradition and expectation of men, we have to be, we're looked down. Oh, she's a gold digger, even though he don't have no gold. Or, you're asking too much, you know. I think that that's where the issue comes in. He gets, and I'm not saying, because I do believe that economically it's hard for one person to handle a household, right? But just like times have changed and economically it's hard for a person to handle a household. Now that we've had to move it around, you can't just say, oh, my job gets less than, but her job, that just means you're just gonna have to stack it up on her. She just has to take the brunt of it. I think it needs to be it needs to be balanced. We need to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, these are the things that you're doing, and this is how I'm going to help you out because you are technically helping me out. Because that's what she's
I,
doing, in my opinion. Because that's how my daddy rolled. You're technically helping. If you need help paying half of the bills as a man, she's technically, in my opinion, helping you. So why would you not want to do the same thing for her?
so I agree with that last statement, but Damn, you said something I was gonna go after, and I don't even remember what it was. Damn, he did
Was
it
it about the
again.
food and the cleaning
Oh no, I remember now.
or the
No, you were talking about a nasty man. Women be accountable for your decisions. You picked this nasty motherfucker.
when I say nasty, what I want to say is a sloppy man. Because you can go to a man's house. So the reason why I say this, because you can go to a man's house dating him, and he has a cleanup woman that you probably never seen. She just cleaning up after him. Right. And so then when you move in with him, you realize, oh, you had a woman doing this for you, and now you want me to do it.
Or he knew enough to clean up before you came over. Because
Exactly.
it's not,
You know,
not that they don't know how to do it. It's not that they don't know how to do it. They choose not to do it when they know somebody else will do it for them. That's what I've learned. Because when my husband, when we were just dating, when I say he was immaculate, got up, made his bed every day. I cleaned his room, immaculate. I never saw a dude that clean in my life. I don't know what happened.
Well, shit, y'all sleeping in the same bed. You might as well make it. It's all good.
I don't know what. Well, I leave and get up before he does. So he's the last one in the bed. So he should
Damn,
make
I was trying to give him something.
my bed get made once a week. Well, twice, just on Saturday and Sunday at this point.
Cause y'all gonna mess up. Y'all gonna mess it up anyway.
Y'all be giving these passes, baby. Y'all love these passes, don't you?
Well,
Y'all spoil us. Like, see, that's the other thing.
The bro
Y'all,
code. Stick by
no,
you.
no, no, no. Look, y'all spoil us for real, for real. Y'all spoil the shit out of us because y'all, y'all do stuff that is just super dope. You probably made the bed one time. He was like, "Shit, I ain't got to do this no more." Like, hold on, let me see if she do it again, and then you
And
do it
that's the
again.
problem. You're right, AP. That's the problem.
It was like, well, shit. Now I don't have to worry about it because I know she gonna do it. I mean,
that's not a
I know that
problem. That's a blessing. That is favor.
facts.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, I have no problem paying for my house to get clean. I take great pride. So listen, y'all right. When my house be clean, I don't be cleaning it. So, I be cleaning it. So it's just like it's be nice and it's clean. It smells nice in here. I said, oh man, this is great. I literally tell people, listen, my aunt single-handedly has made it hard for women because my aunt will literally come in here and in 2 to 3 hours, my house is the most pristine. And I'd be looking at women, I'd be like, why can my aunt come in here and clean this house in 2 to 3 hours? But y'all houses be looking crazy all the time. I'd be
Yes,
like, yo,
Eugene.
this is wild.
I had to shout Eugene out. Yes, Eugene.
Hold on, what
Listen,
he say? What
he said
Eugene
women
say?
shouldn't clean around mess. I agree. Listen, I listen. I know how to keep the house moderate,
He
right?
said, yes,
Just because
women
I
can
don't want to
clean,
come
but
home
men
to a
should not
nasty
have
house.
this mentality of my woman will clean up my mess. He's absolutely right.
That's nice, but also it's like that's nice, but also, but listen, I want to address something that Mistaken said not too long ago. You stated that you had thought that your husband would see what you were struggling with, and that he should do the things that you see as a problem, right? The biggest problem is what a man thinks a problem is different than what a woman thinks a problem is. We can look at the same situation and be like, that's not a problem. You look at that same problem and be like, oh no, that's a big problem. And I think sometimes women will hold, and men do it too. I'll agree to that. That we'll literally hold each other to the same standard that we hold ourselves, not realizing that this person doesn't operate like that. Like, brother ain't got no problem with the trash smelling for a little bit before he decided to take it out because he knows in his mind, hey, when I get up to go to work, I'm just gonna take the trash out. But you're like, well, I was cooking next to that dirty trash. You didn't take that trash out. I'm smelling it. You not smelling it because you're the opposite side of the house. You should have took this trash out because you seen the trash was full. And he's like, yeah, I saw it was full, but I'm gonna take it out at this time. So we both see the problem differently, We want to address it differently, but we get mad when the other person doesn't do it the way that we want them to do it. And I see that's a big issue in a lot of relationships too, is that, we can see problems, we see them differently, and we attack them differently.
I agree with that. I can see that being a
Well, you know what I ended up doing, and even though it bothers me, it has also alleviated the stress that I was feeling, is I started acting like him. And what I mean by that was, where if he did the laundry, he would just wash the clothes and then it would just sit there and not get folded. He'll fold it when he got to it, right? Whereas for me, when I do it, I get it and knock it out, right? So while the laundry is getting washed, I'm cleaning the bathroom, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. When he does stuff, is one thing at a time. So it's like, all right, the clothes are washing. I'm like, all right, babe, can you? I'm doing laundry, but babe, you're like literally sitting here, like watching TV. There's nothing that you can do right now. The clothes are washing, so can you help do da 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 da? So after a while, it was just like, I was like, well, what is the problem? He was like, I on my weekends, I look to rest. I don't want to have to do a whole lot of stuff. I'm going to get everything done, but it doesn't have to be done in your time. I said, I'm going to fold the clothes. I'll fold the clothes, right? So I left him alone. I didn't say nothing to it. I didn't say nothing about it, whatever. But what I did start doing is saying, you know what? He's making it a point to give himself some personal time, some rest time. So guess what? I'm gonna give myself some rest time. It has nothing to do with I'm stressed out too. I'm tired too. But in my mind, I'm like, I gotta get it done. I gotta get it done. It's gonna be here. So I'm gonna give myself some rest time too. And once I started doing that, and he never complained. He didn't care that the clothes wasn't folded immediately. It wasn't an issue for him, but it was an issue for me. So to speak to what HD said, it was an issue for me because I like, when my house is clean, I like everything done. So the laundry folded, everything vacuumed, everything wiped down, floor mopped, all of that. I like everything done at once. It just puts me at peace, just being able to walk into a house and feel like I don't have any work to do. But once I started saying, you know what, it'll be there tomorrow. And once I started giving myself permission to just be like, oh, you chilling? All right, babe, what are we watching? I ended up using that time to spend with him. And now it's not even an issue. We got clothes. We just came from vacation, finished washing all the clothes. They just sitting in the laundry room right now. Neither one of us started folding them yet. We'll hit it this weekend. But before, I would have been like, oh, these clothes need to be, you know what I'm saying? So I just started not caring just as much as he did. And it's no issue. He doesn't care.
It is an issue. Them clothes just sitting in there. You want me to give you my
Man, F them clothes. Them clothes is gonna be there. They clean. They'll be there when I get ready.
We'll knock them things out.
They're clean.
Facts. Listen, and they're accessible. Literally, you can see exactly what you want. It's sitting right over there. You can grab it and go.
Man, that shit would bother me, bro. Oh, because I need my socks mated. But bro, I can't do that.
Socks, if you got 100 pair of socks, the ones that are in there really aren't going to matter. It's when you run out of stuff. And to be honest, we have way too much stuff. That's part of the problem too.
Look, I get it. I know what you're saying, and I too have an entire, now it's a container. It used to be a drawer. She changed all that shit, but that is all the way stuffed to the top with socks. After laundry, I still gotta make them bitches. I fold my drawers. Those used to be in a drawer too. They're not in a drawer. They in this other giant container. Like you got to see the way this shit is set up. She got this
She
metal rack.
organized your life for you, didn't she?
Man, look, I got okay. So I
You
got
got
this
a
metal
junk
rack
drawer now,
with
an
with the,
organized junk drawer.
that shit is still organized. But I found batteries for my flashlights. I was
Oh,
like, that's that shit. But I got this metal rack thing, and it got like eight compartments in it, and there's a like a little pull out fabric pull out little thing, and each one of them got its own like I got socks, I got my underwear, I got my A shirts, I got my V necks, I got my my full sleeve t-shirts. I'm like, yo, this shit is wild. Like it for real. It's so easy for me to pack now because I travel quite a bit. It's so easy to pack now. All that shit is right there. All I got to do is roll it up. Did you know you can roll your clothes up and you get so much more room in your suitcase? Just for the record, that shit's tough. I have not had to check a bag in a bit, but like yo, some of the shit y'all like the way y'all process shit. Oh my god! So now my beautiful dresser, which I thought it was beautiful, come to find out she ain't like it. But that I had to get rid of that thing. Why are you laughing? That ain't funny. That ain't funny. I used to.
It was
I
probably trash.
look, y'all be thinking y'all be living the life. A woman come in there,
Hey,
she looks
listen, we do be living a life, but y'all
like,
standard
what
of
is
what
this?
something looks good is like my little kitchen table. I love my little kitchen table, but I guarantee you, a woman walk in there, ugh, look at this table, and then they
man, I'm
start
glad you
trying to
said
change my
that.
goddamn on table. Man, it's my
I'm
table.
glad you said that, bro. I had this. Okay, so I made this beautiful island. Oh my god, like I made it with these hands. I made that shit. We don't have that anymore. What we have is this hideaway rolling little island that we can actually roll out when we need it, and this new giant ass fucking table that I don't even know why we got it, but we got this big table. It looked good. I ain't gonna lie, but like, but is I'm like, why we need all this? Shit's why. Like, man, look, y'all, man, never mind.
Part of making your house a home. It
Why is it?
helps. It frees your life up. Like I know when we were doing stuff in the house, I'm trying to ask for my husband's input because I'm trying to not make this just my house. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to, he like, we don't even need that. We like, what do you, and I'm like, babe, can you just, whatever, and then after it's done, he was like, oh, I like that. Oh, I'm glad that you did that. So a lot of times y'all don't see things the way that we see things. So I agree that we think differently. Y'all like, I think y'all said this before, just give us like he wants a man chair. We got into it about that. I don't mind him having a man chair, but it just can't go where he wants it to go. Not he has a man cave. The man chair could go to man cave. Um, not in our bedroom. It just don't fit. It doesn't fit with the decor. No, can't do that. But it is I think those, so when guys are like, well, what do women bring to the table, I think a lot of the things that we do are not necessarily things that are tangible, so to speak. So it's hard to explain it. Like you guys could say, oh, well, I go to work and I do X, Y, and Z. This is what I bring. I bring financial literacy. I know how to invest. Like y'all are able to kind of articulate the physical aspects of the things that you do. But as a woman, a lot of what we bring to the table are not necessarily tangible, but you kind of overlook it because it's just like, I didn't need a junk drawer, but it it makes sense that it's organized place where you have something like you said, oh, I was easy to find those batteries. Oh, she got this spacer thing. So when I pack my clothes, because I travel a lot, it makes my life easier. Now I'm able to pack. You know what I'm saying? So those are things that we can provide that is overlooked. You don't necessarily see those things on a day to day, but it makes your life easier.
So, and I just want to address a comment in the chat. It said that sounds like a control thing to the men, bro. if you doing it right, if you invest in your woman, and if you took the time to vet the woman and you dated her intentionally and y'all get married, bro, let her be a woman. Let her do her thing. Step back. I promise if you what I'm learning, and I've had two women like this now. I was a fool the first time, and I pay attention the second time. Stacy, AP don't make the same mistakes twice. But give her the space. Let her turn those four cold ass walls into a home and allow her the opportunity to put her touch on it. You might be surprised. I'm gonna tell you personally, I was surprised. I had a system. My system to me was very efficient, giving her the space to be a woman and turn the house the way she kind of wanted to turn the house. Of course, I had my own say, but allow her to turn the house the way she wanted to turn the house. My life is more efficient now. Just you just have to be willing to give her that canvas and the paintbrush and let her create that masterpiece. And if you did everything right leading up to that,
Okay. AP, the only pushback I have is
yes,
that
sir.
what you say is great if you have a woman that has that skill. A lot of women do not have that skill of organization in regards to making sure that the house operates a certain type of way, right? Although a lot of women don't have that skill. We assume they have that skill because we typically hear what Miss Taken said. Women make a house a home. Certain women make a house a home because in reality, a lot of the women have not learned some of the skills or haven't experienced some of the things in which they can do the things that you're talking about. Because women can definitely come in and spend money on stuff and, oh, I like this, but that doesn't necessarily make the house operate more efficiently. What it is it just looks better, but it might not actually be better for the actual home. Because the thing is let's say, for example, that nice table that you got that you don't use. Oftentimes women buy a lot of stuff that you will never need, but it looks great. You got 47 pillows, but you only sleep on 4 of them. What in God's name is this nonsense? You know what I'm saying? See, JR, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's sitting on 6 pillows right now. Some girl put 6 pillows in his back shot. He's just like, yo, I'm sitting on 6 pillows, but I only need 2. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
laughing because that was something that my husband said when I got there. He was like, "Why? Where we gonna put all these pillows? Who's sleeping on all?" I was like, "It's for the ambiance." He's just like,
That's what I'm saying. And this what I'm saying is like oftentimes what y'all think y'all be doing, y'all don't actually be doing. And I just be like, yo, this looks nice, but also I got 47 pillows. It's a nice color spread. This is great. But why the hell I got 47 pillows when there's only 2 heads? Give me 4 and I'll be all right.
What
But
up with it, Jr.?
so to go with the conversation real fast, do you not agree that? So I can agree with you that a lot of women don't really know how to make a house a home, right? I think majority do, but a lot of them don't. So why is it easy for you to believe that, but you believe all men know how to be leaders in their household? Like, why is it that we're giving this thing that all men know how to be leaders just off the back of them growing, being raised with a penis? But when it comes to women, you know, not
So so let
all
me
know
so
how to
let
do
me
it.
address this. There's a difference between being an effective leader and being a terrible leader. Because whether you're leading well or not, there's going to be somebody following you. That's the reason why it's so important for you to get the people who are bad influences out. Because guess what? Your influence is just that. There's going to be people that's following your negative behavior, right? And you're still a leader. But what you guys are talking about, you only focus on the good leaders. As far as, oh, men just think that they're leaders. Yes, men are leaders. You just got to figure out what kind of leader that you got. Like, I'm perfectly fine with the statement that all men are dogs. But if you look at some dogs are intelligent, they're obedient, they're helpful, they're actually support animals to people that have anxiety. You need to figure out what kind of dog you got. Now, if you got a dog that's humping everything, then that's a bad dog. Or he don't listen and he don't do the things that you need him to do. But if you got a dog that respects and cares for you, and then he makes sure that he watches after you, he listens to you, he does the things that you need. There's a reason why they say that dogs are man's best friend. Shoot, there's many times people treat dogs better than they treat men. So it's like, listen, I think that it is perfectly fine to be out here and say that all men are dogs. You just need to figure out what kind of dog you got.
I think that it's crazy to
I'm
believe that all
allergic.
men are leaders. I don't think that all men are leaders. First,
So no, you what you're focused on, all men aren't good leaders. All
no.
men
I
are
said what
leaders.
I said. All men are leaders.
Yes, all men are leaders, but
I
not
don't.
all men are good leaders. You have men that are
I
terrible
think to be a
leaders.
leader, that I think that
There's
that's
some men that look for women to take the reins, so those men are not leaders.
No, they are leaders.
I think
A
that you know
smart
just
leader,
without the
a
word
smart
leader.
leader knows where to delegate in his weaknesses. That's the reason why you have so many people that are CEOs that hire everybody else to do their job instead of them doing the job themselves. He's
No,
still a leader and he delegates.
you're not a leader if the woman is leading. We hear it all the time that the problem is that women are leading relationships. So in that regard, if the woman is leading the relationship, the man is not the leader.
So you're sitting here telling me that if a woman is leading the relationship, that wasn't by design?
Not intentional, because I would
It
think
is intentional. If he
no,
doesn't want to step up to do the things you want him to do, it's intentional.
no.
He wants you to do it so he ain't got to do it.
So then that's not leading.
That
You
is
saying
leading. It's
no,
not good leadership, but it is leading.
HD, come on, you're intelligent. Please stop.
I
That's
am
what you're saying.
intelligent.
You're
That's the
laughing.
reason
If
why.
you're laughing, no, that's
And
not
we
leadership.
can laugh. But just because you are the leader does not mean you are a good leader. And you just want to get focused on a good leader, an effective leader, a leader that does the things that you want to. You're only focused on that. You're not focusing on the fact that when you are a leader, that means you have somebody that is following you. That means you have influence. Women always talk about being
Right.
partners.
So
If you are a
if
partner,
you're
that
not
means both of you guys are leaders.
based on what you just said, if you are a leader, that means somebody's following and you have influence. If a man is not providing that and the woman, he's following behind the woman, and I know y'all have known men like that follow behind their woman. If he's following behind a woman and she's influencing him, therefore, by your definition, she is the leader.
She
He's
is
not.
a leader, not the leader. Because at the end of the day, even if she's
All
leading that
right, HD,
relationship, he
I
is
bow out.
still,
You got
that's
it.
great. You can bow out. But the simple fact of the matter is even though she's leading that relationship and that relationship is more than likely going to end, who they going to hold responsible? Him or her?
They're
Exactly.
gonna say why you weren't leading.
Exactly.
So that's
The
not
reason
I
the
didn't
leading.
even get
reason
the
being
question.
is they still
I
gonna hold him accountable because he's still the leader, even though he was dumb enough
No,
to let you
they're
lead.
gonna hold him accountable because he wasn't leading.
Yes, because he is the leader. That's why.
But he wasn't doing. He wasn't doing what. Just so
Leading,
so
you're not
so.
the
Listen.
leader.
So what she's saying is he wasn't doing
I
what
know
men
what she's
are.
saying.
What men are designed to do. It just like when you were talking about the woman, she wasn't doing what women you feel like women were designed to do, right?
So you're saying he has the title of leader, but the behavior doesn't match the title. If you want to say that, I can go for that. You can say,
Because
as a man, he should be a leader. But if he's not acting in that role and somebody else is, therefore he's not acting in that role. It's just by title only. Then I'll
But
say that.
because ultimate responsibility and accountability lies on him, just by that sheer fact, when it fails, he's the one that's held responsible. He's the one that's held accountable.
So
By
let me
that fact,
makes
that
him
makes
leader.
him the leader,
So
the
if that is
manager,
the
the
case,
ultimate accountability where it stops. However,
okay.
to your point, mistaken, he was derelict in his duties if he's following a woman and allowing her to lead. But by me using the word allow, that suggests that it's by design, thus HD's point. But I just kind of simply disagree with the premise, mainly because if you're following, you're not leading.
Let me
That
ask
at
you.
the end of the day,
Let me ask you a question. Let's go with HG's point. The man is the leader. So why is it that when a woman gets pregnant, he first want to buy? Why he don't want to lead with them kids? When he get up, it ain't her. It
Yeah,
ain't
we're
his,
leaving.
all of a sudden it ain't his fault. He had nothing to do with it. All of a sudden, if they want to put him on child support or take him to court, he got an opportunity to lead on out the door.
So
ultimate accountability falls on her body, her choice, her call. And since, like, going back to that same
I
definition,
don't think that's true.
since accountability ends up on the woman,
I don't think that's true.
that would make her in charge of her own body.
I don't think
That is kind of on her if we're gonna follow the same
so
logic.
you're saying he's not in charge of his own body because that sperm came out of his body.
She let it in hers.
But he has no control over his sperm. He's a leader and he
and
has
she
no
has no control
control
over her legs.
over his he's a leader. But he has no you want him to control a
See,
household, but he can't even control the one thing that he produces in his body. He can't control where it goes.
so you're making me you're forcing me into a position that I don't hold. But
Listen, I'm just trying to
but
figure out the leadership.
but
I do have a question to
oh
it's
Lord.
part. No. For the woman, because we had talked about making the house into a home. Outside, because what we were talking about is like the organization, and I know that that's part, but the if you had none of those things in the house, how do you feel a woman makes a house a home? Because I think those are superficial things of a house. They represent something, different. Those are the, I guess, symbolic aspects when, you have nice furniture or whatever. What do you think for a woman makes a house a home? And then the other part is the opposite side. So Shan, I'm gonna ask you this since I want the men to answer how does a woman make a house a home. How do you feel, at what point do a man become a leader? For you, what makes him a leader?
So and I didn't know if HD wanted me to take it first or not, but for me, if she didn't possess any of those qualities, she wouldn't be who she is. I don't think I'd have chosen her. Um, but the truth is, she is opposite of me. I lack empathy. It's terrible. I lack sympathy. She has such a big heart. She is totally opposite of me. When I say she feels people's pain, she feels people's pain, and I don't. I don't, like, it's not even in me, and I've tried. It's just not like, oh, well, shit, you made the choice. And when I say things like that, she's like, but do you understand what they were faced with? And she truly feels their pain. She is the opposite of me. So that type of warmth I need, and I've identified that I need that. So I when I come home and again, it's very different because I do have all of those things that I mentioned. The conversations that we have, and the fact that it doesn't echo in the house, like makes it a home. Me, I could have gotten up and moved anywhere I wanted and not really gave a damn, right? But now I'm home. I don't know how to explain it to you.
Right.
But that's the best I got. She is truly just the opposite of me, and I think that balance is very necessary.
I say what a woman does to make a house a home for me is she continues to provide an environment of peace. Like, house is clean, you know, I don't have to stress about the way that the house looks because, she took care of the decor stuff that I don't care nothing about. You know, when there's stuff that needs to be ordered or like food that needs to be gotten, like we need to order food. She already's been looking through the fridge because I don't care nothing about what's in that fridge. She's looking through that fridge and be like, hey, we didn't get this. We need this. Paper towels is gone. Like she helps find the things that makes up for my lack because there's stuff I just don't care about and I don't pay attention to. And if she pays attention to those things where I lack, then, I don't have to deal with those things as often because she already filled the gaps. So like when women come and uh add curtains or pictures or, you get a new couch, a new washer and dryer, she ain't buy it. I brought it. But the thing is like those simple things that add to the quality of your life, they go a long way. And I think a lot of women care about comfort a little bit more than men. And then men start softening up when they get around certain women. And then they be like, oh man, I used to be so rough. I used to not care about nothing. So now I got this woman and I care about too much now. I want to go back to not caring. But I think I appreciate the woman that understands and listens to who I am and what I provide. And she's able to see, the cracks in the armor and make sure that those things aren't exposed.
What about you, JR?
I think you guys made some great points. I'm kind of going another route, man, especially when it comes to children. I think that you can really see like the benefit of a quality woman um, as a mother. There are just some things that you may not be able to put into play, but a woman can definitely put into play, meaning that all the ins and outs when it comes with the children, she's holding it down. And whatever needs to be filled in, you come back and you fill it in. So all that, the stress of not having to worry about how the children is being cared for, I think is a good quality of what makes a woman a home. Even as men, when we live alone, there's a difference when you have a good woman that come into the house because you start to just see different things. For instance, plants. I don't think too many men pay attention to plants, but you'd be surprised when you put a little bit of green in the house, how the vibe in the house just kind of changes, right? Um, her being, I think you guys make some good points too about her paying attention to you. So her understanding all the hard work that you're putting in, and then when you come home, that you have the peace, you have some of the things that you wouldn't normally have, like you smelling, you just the house smells different. Uh, Sometimes you may come in and you may smell food being cooked. It's just those things that you start to appreciate a little bit more because it wasn't there when you was just alone. So I think all the fellas made a lot of good points, but I just wanted to kind of add a little bit of those in.
Wholly
Well,
agree with both of y'all.
yeah, because I had saw the question. Somebody said, "At what point does a man become the leader?" And so I guess that could be answered from both sides. I guess you guys would have a better idea from the guy's perspective, but I was curious for Shan, since she's the only other female here, is for a man, what uh, At what point do you feel a man is a leader? How do you know that your man is a leader or that he's leading?
Well, for me, all I can do is speak for me. I look at how a person shows up in their community, right? How people look at them. Are they do they respect him as a human, as a man? Um, if he's productive, I like productive men. Um, I like a man who's very caring. Not to the point where it's like feminine kind of caring, but just cares enough to take me in consideration. He's very he shows his appreciation. So maybe I am cooking, but my dude walks in. He knows I like roses, so he brings me some. So it just he shows a little bit of appreciation in that type of way. How he treats his kid. I'm older, so I look at what kind of father he is to his child. Like, is he leading by example? Can I trust, if I close my eyes, can I trust him to not lead me astray? Do I trust his judgment? Has he lived a life in a way that I'm like, he's got some good sense. He's a decent, his character is on point. He moves in a legit way, a way that I can follow. And that to me is what I look for, and how he can lead my household. Because when you think of a leader in my house, I think essentially I'm trying to find the CEO of my house, right? And even when you're trying to find a CEO of any company, you want to make sure that this person has certain type of qualities. You're not going to just choose anybody to manage your business, to manage your money or whatever. You're going to be real picky about it. And so that's the way that I look for my guy. I'm real picky about the guy who I decide to follow.
Yeah. I guess I could chime in a little bit too from a man's perspective because, um, I mean, some men got it and some men don't. I think that,
Men got it, some men don't.
yeah. So if it wasn't for my grandfather instilling some things in me, then I probably wouldn't be the man that I am today, or at least have an understanding of how to run a household. I think the older women get, you have to understand that they've been through a lot, and if they're single and not married, that they're going to be skeptical about any man that comes into their life. And so when you look, you gotta, if they're single and they've been single for a while, they've probably been leading themselves. So it's gonna probably take a certain type of man. And the reason why I say some men got it and some men don't is that you don't really have to say I'm a leader. I think that when the right woman comes across that man, then he just carries himself a certain type of way and has a certain type of energy about him that she just like follows up under his leadership because he just the way he has everything set up in his life, the way he comes in, the way he speaks, the way his tone, just everything about him just seems to be just a manly man, and she wouldn't try to pull anything. She wouldn't try to pull anything with him. So I think us as men, we just learn from an earlier age that we possess those qualities. And you really don't know like what you can really lead until you've been in some situations. Sometimes it's going to take some experience for you to be able to go through to really understand how to become a better leader. Because once you failed in certain areas, that's how you learn. Like when we come out, we don't really know anything, but if you have somebody that was guiding you and showing you what to do in certain situations and understand and instilling a certain type of mindset in you, then I think that you can adapt a little bit quicker. But people that's been handed things to them their entire life, they don't really understand what it means to really work to be able to get somewhere. Some people complain all the damn time. So you got somebody that's complaining, like they're not gonna really put the work. I don't complain too much. I mean, life is just gonna life. So as long as I wake up the next day, I can correct whatever it is, whatever decision I made, I can correct it if it was the wrong decision. And I always try to do like calculated. I always try to do calculated decisions if I had time. Like some decisions need to be made just right away, and of course you go ahead and you respond that way. But most of the time, I slow everything down to a tempo where I can digest it a certain type of way to be able to allow myself some time. I don't let nobody force me into making a decision that I need to make that I don't need to make right then and there. So I just think it's just comes with experience. It comes to your upbringing. It comes to the situation that you've been in. And some people just haven't gone through nothing. Some people always been chasing behind or looking for somebody that is doing looking for a woman that's better than them, and it's just going to be conflict. So I'm not intimidated by a woman. I'm not intimidated by a woman's success. I'm not intimidated by a woman, whatever she got going on, because I know that I have value, and I know whatever situation I get into that I'm going to be the one that just have value. Like it's either you with it or you not. So that's just my thoughts on it.
JR, I think you just made a good point. You said that you're not intimidated by women because you know you add value. And I'll throw this to both of you, both of the guys. Do you think that a lot of the the broken relationships and conflicts in relationships or between men and women comes from men who don't truly understand the value that they have? That's just something I've never thought about, and you brought it up, and I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of
Um,
sense to me.
I have some friends that really don't have anything that's going on for themselves, where when they enter relationships, it's a little bit difficult for them because like they're they're self-aware enough to understand that they're not going to be bringing anything. So they're looking for a woman that really has something else, that has something going on, so they can attach themselves to it. And anytime you have a man that's doing that, it's really not gonna work out for you because, like, she's gonna control everything because she knows you don't have that much, and so that's the reason why she chooses you. Like, you know, she got everything, and that's the reason why he chooses them. It's like two opposites coming together, like one need the other. But um, I don't think I think men do understand the value that they have, and I think that they get with people who they can attract or people who they qualify for. Um, I know someone, and I ain't gonna really say them who they are, but I know someone in my family that I knew that they was gonna marry somebody who they could be a little bit more dominant over, because a man that has something going on, he's not gonna put up with what she had. She's not gonna put up with the attitude, the mindset, all that. I just knew it just wasn't gonna work. So she married someone that who she can be dominant over. And looking at him, meet him for the first time, I knew that he needed a stronger type of woman. You know, like he'll complain about her to everybody else because he's afraid to tell her about herself. But it's funny because we had these conversations all the time, and there's some truth to it. But every situation is different. It's just everything is always situational. So it may be some truth into the things we're saying, but it may apply differently depending on um, whatever that relationship entails. But I do think a lot of men don't understand their value. A lot of men just not really getting to it, and so it's going to be difficult for them to date because they need a certain specific type of woman to be able to date. But somebody that does have something going on, they're not intimidated by a woman's success. Like, they're not afraid to talk to any type of woman. And 9 times out of 10, you do have some stubborn women who are successful and they don't know how to build with somebody. But somebody that don't need a woman's money or need a woman that he just need her to do certain things, she's gonna recognize that energy and she's either gonna get with it or she's just not gonna be with him because he's just not gonna tolerate it.
I was going to say that I also think part of, actually, I think this is women and men's issue, that they don't know their value because they don't know who they are. And I think that's where it lies. A lot of times we just go through life and we have life experiences, and those experiences shape, certain things and shape who we become. But I think it's very rare that we take time to really have a knowledge of self. And when you have a knowledge of self, that helps you identify your value. That will shape the people you will let in your space. And I think instead of doing the work on the front end, we run into a lot of situations that make us go back and begin to set standards and look at certain things and saying, well, I know the next guy I get with, I don't like this. So if he do that, I'm not, or vice versa. So I think if we start early, and I don't even know, even in me thinking about that, I don't even know how do you necessarily teach that? Like as a mom or as a dad, you have children, teaching them how to begin to develop a knowledge of self and understanding the value that they have. I learned my value. I'm not going to even lie, which this could have been a disaster. I will say I'm forever grateful and thankful to my husband. He saw the value in me before I saw it in myself. I didn't see myself the same way he saw me. And when he began to show me the things that he saw in me were valuable, then I began to find that value in myself and then took it to the next level of then wanting to do my own self exploration and gain a deeper knowledge of who I am. But he started that for me. And we actually had a conversation about this not too long ago. My girlfriend had asked him about, because whatever conversation we had, and he was saying something about, oh, well, that's because I had a knowledge of self. And so she was like, what do you mean? And he said the way that he was able to develop that was the fact that when he was 14, he became, a 5%er. And being in that environment, it set a structure for his life of him knowing who he was. And because of that, he moved so different than other guys that I knew that was even in his age group. And that was a huge attraction because I did not see something like that before. So I definitely think the earlier a person, but I'm going to say specifically for men, since we're talking about leadership, is that as a man finding a way, because I know it's hard if majority of our men are growing up in single-led households by women. How do you teach a young boy to begin to develop a knowledge of self so he can be prepared to become a leader later on?
I think, well, first I want to address AP's question. I think that I don't want to say this, but I'll leave it alone. To Miss Taken's question, I think I think the only way you can teach men or boys to become men, you need to have somebody that's willing to teach them. When I was older, I got into a discipleship program, and my pastor at the time, he seen that I seen myself that I needed guidance, and I have a father, very successful guy, and he's very skilled in a lot of things, but he wasn't the main one that taught me. And when I went to the discipleship program and I got mentored by my pastor, he helped me develop things and taught me things that was necessary for me to grow into the brother that I became today. Did my dad teach me things that helped me grow? For sure. My dad did not say a lot to me, but the things he said stuck. And same thing with my pastor. And one of the things he taught me was that the definition of a husband is a skillful manager of a household. And the definition of a father is the giver of life. And oftentimes if you have a man in your life that's willing to give instruction, that's willing to give you identity, that's really the biggest thing that you are talking about as far as knowledge of self is identity. You are my son. You are this. You are this. Your name carries this. This is what you don't do. This is what you do. And being able to identify the things that this person should do, those are going to be the keys in order for you to actually turn sons to men instead of them being just grown males, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's some good points. And to answer your question as well, as far as how to teach the young man, I think there's some things you can teach, and there's some things that you can put boys in position. And for example, when it comes to problem solving, I don't think you can really teach that. I think that really comes from a man being a young boy just being comfortable being in situations and then being able to figure it out. Like one of the things my grandfather would do is that any problem that was going on inside the house, he would put me in position, meaning he would bring me to the problem and say, "This is what's going on, and this is what we need to do." His method of teaching me was like, "Look, we don't know if it's serious or not, but we're gonna figure it out if it's serious, and then we're gonna take it from there. We're not gonna just call nobody right away. We're gonna see if we can fix it ourselves. And the last thing that we want to do is call somebody out there." He also let me know is that he used to tell me, "I'm not gonna always be here, so you need to know how to do these things because uh, we don't want to worry the women in the house. We had my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, and my sister, and so we were at the time we were the only two men. That was really like the cornerstone in my immediate family. So one of the things that he would tell me to do, I already knew how to do. So I wasn't afraid. I didn't have any fear of being able to solve things, and that came from him being able to kind of prepare me so that whenever a problem come, I think I can solve everything. Now, the one thing that I think a man may need to enlighten or teach a child is the importance of integrity and character, because that's something that I don't think is discussed a lot of, and that's part of being a leader. It's an important part of it. So I think you need to have the balance and being able to have both of them. But like your name is everything, and you being a man of your word, and you being able to stand for something, and not being able to just waver depending on what somebody else is saying. I think those are important traits. So I do think you do need some teachings, and I think um, the earlier men can understand that, then they can pass those traits on to their kids, and they can teach them, and they can put them in position.
I would say you both of you gentlemen said something very important. You referenced your grandfather JR, and HD, you referenced your pop. That's the number one key thing in my opinion when we're talking about raising little boys. I think it comes with picking the right father. I think it comes from having a male structure in your life as a female to help guide you in making some of those decisions as it pertains to men. I think those are the number one keys. Um, JR touched on something again that I think is really important. It was integrity and character. Whereas, and I'm just going to use me as an anecdotal example, I didn't have a full understanding of what integrity was. And I had to learn that a little bit later in life. And to another key point JR brought up was the sooner you teach that, the better. I had to learn it late, in one case, a little too late. But once I figured it out, I think I learned it soon enough to where I was able to bestow that upon my own son. So I think those are all key elements in raising a young boy to basically become a man is you, as a female, you gotta have a male structure, which will help you in your decision making when it comes to picking a good father.
Yeah, I think you made some good points, AP too. And I think for men and women, that we do have to vet properly. We have to vet properly, but then we also have to uh, start making a difference within our homes. That's one of the things that I always say. It's very difficult for anyone to adopt change. Like nobody wants to change. It's an uncomfortable feeling. Like once them chemicals start, I mean, once somebody does something and you're not familiar with their response, it's some in our bodies that's chemically just stirring up the wrong way. That's want us to resist it. So the earlier you're able to like adopt some of these personality traits, the easier to be. And so that's why the difference starts with our children. When it comes to grown folks, it may be a little bit difficult for them to be able to adopt change, and it's not going to happen overnight. They've been living all these years being this particular way. You can't expect them to just like flick a switch and they're a different person. So, and a lot of people fear change. A lot of people don't want to do it. So now that we got the game, now that we understand how important character and integrity is, now that we got to understand the importance of vetting, the like we know the things to look for when it comes to finding a quality mate for the most part, right? You're not going to be able to get 100% correct, but maybe we can get at least like 80% and have a chance at it. The If we can really understand that we all human and we not, and we're going to have some things that we got to work on within a marriage and work on within relationships, then I think that we'll have quality marriages and quality relationships, whatever it is that you're looking forward to. But um, I think you guys made some good points. I just wanted to add that on to it, man. Change is something that's real difficult for people, man. And people just stubborn. They don't want to do it. And the reason they don't want to do it is because they just been doing it for so many years this way. And then trying to tell them to do it differently is just gonna be hard for
This is where I think people are, because I agree with what y'all was saying about being knowing how to vet better, and but I think that goes back to earlier what I had made the comment about. Usually you learn after you've gone through something, right? So I think, like when we're talking about the German girl or whatever, that the guy was saying he never, according to her, that he never had a girl like bring him plate of food, or, offer him fruit, or ate before she ate, and all of that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of times a part of our vetting is based in our lack. And so I guess, how do you adjust for that? Because if I never had that and somebody provides that for me, I think I might be making a good choice because it's better than the choices that I've had. But if all my choices were at the bottom of the barrel to begin with, and now I just got something a step above that, technically I've made a better choice, but it's still not a good choice. You understand what I'm saying? And so I think a lot of people are operating from that space because they've been at the bottom of the barrel for so long that now they're choosing partners that may be a little bit better than that, but it's still not a good choice because they're trying to choose based on the experience. Like, oh, I know this girl had it, she liked to hang out all night or whatever. So I'm going to choose a girl. Well, at least she likes to stay home. But that's the only area that you're looking at because that was the one thing that would cause the most problems in your previous relationship. But she, got an attitude. I mean, the girl that stays home, yeah, she don't go out, but now she has an attitude. She don't, you know, listen or follow too well or whatever. So how do you I guess what I'm getting at is how do you learn how to vet better if you don't know what you don't know?
Well, you just got to get uncomfortable, man. You got to take some risk. You got to understand that we've been. I mean, typically, a lot of our choices is something that we're comfortable with. So you have to go a little bit further, go a little bit deeper. You got to look at the bigger picture. Like some people just looking at, um, they're not looking at the bigger picture. So they're not looking at possible outcomes and like possible consequences. Like they're not looking at all these details. They're not looking at if the person is understanding, if the person is even willing to stay in the fight. You know, they're looking at what they how much money they make, and they're looking at how good the person looks. They're looking at trying to do a test drive before marriage. Like they're focused on the wrong thing. So I think you got to get a little bit more uncomfortable and start analyzing some of the things that you typically don't. You got to start speaking with people that do have successful relationships and marriages. You got to surround yourself around people that are going up in like the direction that you plan on going, and then start adopting some of those habits, having conversations. A lot of people don't talk. Just think about even when you go out to dinner and you look around, nobody's talking to each other. They're just sitting there, and the highlight of their date night is when the food come out. They're just sitting there, they looking around, they on their phones, they don't even enjoy each other. So that just shows me that they really not putting a lot of effort within that relationship, because there's so you got to think about it. If that person is 40, you got at least like 35 years of conversations, of questions you can ask to really understand who that person truly is at the age of 35 and 37. There's just so many things you can really find out about that person. So I just think people got to get out their comfort zone to really to answer your question.
I think you made another point, Jr. I don't know if you know, when you speak, you drop nuggets. So I'm gonna
Appreciate it,
go
sir.
ahead,
Thank you.
man. For real, we appreciate you, but you made a point when you we're talking about vetting. When you said details, everything is in the details, and I'm just again, I like to use me because I try to be as open as possible. But for me, it was about putting her in situations and seeing how she responds, getting all of the information that I was looking for, how she treated other people, um, how other people treated her, how she interacted with her family, how family interacted with her. Everything is in the details, and I think that goes both ways. But before, and I think this is going to go back to what you were asking, Miss Taken, when you said you don't know what you don't know. Before all that, you have to become more self-aware. You know, one of Marcus's words. You have to be self-aware. You have to know what you want. You have to know what you are looking for. Instead of looking at it from the lens of, I know what I don't want, reassess, reevaluate, figure out exactly what you do want, figure out exactly what you do need, and then figure out exactly what that looks like. And that will help you in that vetting process. And that goes for both men and women. So, unless you become self aware, I think you're going to constantly make a lot of the same and different mistakes because you're looking at it from a lens of hurt, and you need to remove that lens of hurt in order to properly assess the new person that you are hoping to bring into your life.
Do you think that it's women are doing the right thing by just continuing to stay single until they find that person?
No, this is my personal belief. I think that the longer you stay single, the more jaded you become. The more life experiences you have, the more things you tend to expect. So my thought process on it is get younger, get married younger, and learn, and hopefully you can grow together, because I think that ultimately is the goal. So pushing it off, pushing it off, pushing it off doesn't increase success. I mean, and we have plenty of examples of that. Like we Ebony K is a prime example of that. So I don't think that you should keep pushing it off. I think that you should grow together from a younger age. And I'm not talking about age gap dating. I'm not even talking about that, because to me that looks more like wait until a man is closer to his finish line and starts getting to his earning potential, and he doesn't know if he can truly trust you or not. I'm talking about maybe 3 year separation at max. The woman gets married at 24, 25. The man gets married at 27, 28, and you just grow. And I understand that the what the divorce rates look like. Miss Taken has reminded us several times. But if you have two people who are, let's say, whole people, meaning not broken, completely healed, the likelihood of you growing together, in my opinion, increases. But oftentimes you got broken people marrying broken people, getting with broken people, and not following anything that we've already laid out in regards to the vetting, in regards to the self awareness, in regards to understanding who you are and the direction you want your life to go. I think all of those things are vastly important. But I think the longer you wait, the lower your chances become. Forgive me, ladies on the panel, especially as a lady.
I'm gonna
So
speak to this.
Go ahead, Jared.
I just want to speak to this too, and just applying logic, right? I think that AP made a good point as far as starting early, but what about the folks that didn't start early and they're older and they're single, right? I think that we have to give a little bit of grace. I'm not saying being stupid, but we got to be give a little bit of grace to both men and women. If you're single and you're in your 40s, you're single for a reason. And if you've been dating actively for like the past 20 years and you're in your 40s, you have a lot of like negative experiences. You have a lot of failed relationships, both men and women, because both of y'all single, right? Now, if you haven't been dating and you just have been in any serious relationships, then it's a possible chance where you may be okay. But like most people, if they're single in their 40s, they've gone through a lot of experiences, and if they're not married and or in a serious relationship, then you got trauma. So it's trauma on both sides. So you got two people that's in their 40s and their 30s, they're coming together and they're trying to figure it out. Unfortunately, they've gone through all these experiences. So if you really think about a woman that's choosing to be single, I don't think nobody wants to be alone. I think that they decide they want to be alone based off the experiences that they've experienced. And so they have no choice, or they're afraid to be vulnerable or to open up to somebody because they've been hurt. And again, this is both men and women. So I think that you do have to be self aware and say, hey, I have been effed over. I have gone through these things, but I'm going to give this person a try. And I do think that there's a way that you can do it, but you got to have an understanding of how you're going about it. Some people get into relationships and they keep making the same mistake over and over again because they keep giving too much of this. And they still haven't, they're not self aware enough to be able to understand that this is leading them down a path, the same path that they've been doing for the past 20 or 30 years. So, unfortunately, once y'all get to this age, it becomes a little bit more riskier. When you start young, you're able to build, like AP said, You're able to build, you're able to learn and kind of self-correct together. But once you're stuck in your ways and once you got all these experience, all these bodies, it becomes more difficult the older you get. And so that's why you hear these conversations about people settling. Yeah, ideally everybody settles, but you have a lot more to kind of because you bitter, you're angry. I've been talking to different women, and I've been actually hearing a lot of women come to the conclusion like I don't want to be alone. They may not say it publicly, but a lot of people don't want to be alone. And they're still scared because they don't know which direction to go in as far as, well, maybe it was me. Maybe I need to try this. Even when you watch the pop the balloon, you heard some of the women say, I typically don't date bald headed men, but maybe I've been looking at the wrong thing. So I didn't pop my balloon because I wanted to be able to hear a little bit more about him. I don't think nobody wants to be alone. I don't care what they tell you. I think that they are just afraid to move forward from just based off their experience. So I agree with AP. The earlier you get it, the better it is for you. The earlier you start taking it serious, not trying to hot girl summer. Same thing with the men. I don't think no men want to be alone. I don't care what they tell you. A lot of these men are hurt out here because they they've been done wrong by a woman, or they didn't pick a quality woman, or they chose a woman for all the wrong things. The reality is that we all trying to figure it out, right? And we all gonna make some mistakes. But the quicker you become self-aware and understand what's going on and being able to look at the bigger picture, I think it'd be easier for you to be in a relationship. Some men like, I don't I don't have a problem being in relationships. Like a lot of my issues have been me. It ain't been anybody else. I don't have a problem, but every man is not fortunate enough to be in that situation to be able to have choices. And so that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, life's just life. You're awarded whatever life gives you, and some people just unfortunate to be able to have an opportunity. But if you self-aware and understand how the world views you and who you are to the world, then I think you can apply yourself accordingly, and then you can kind of navigate that way, if that makes sense.
See, I was actually kind of touched on what I was going to say, but the difference is that I think you should stay single until you figure those things out. The reason I say that is because when you're in relationship, a lot of times you're pouring into the relationship instead of pouring into yourself, especially women. And so sometimes the relationship becomes a distraction from doing the self work that you need so you can be better for the relationship. So I think it's more important to stay single, but stay single and be actively working to, like how we was talking about finding like knowledge of self, find making those adjustments, even if those adjustments means, you know what, let me call some of my exes and ask them about things because other people see you differently than you see yourself. You know what I'm saying? Have those tough conversations. Sometimes it's not just with relationships, romantic relationships. Sometimes you need to have those conversations with your parents, with your girlfriends, things like that, because they can also give you a different perspective if they're honest with you about things that you can work on to be a better person because sometimes they've seen you in your relationships. And so I think it is important to be alone first and do that work, do the healing, do the necessary reflection, develop a better knowledge of self, and then go into the relationship because you're going to start choosing different once you have done the work and have a different mindset because that changes what you're looking for at that point.
I think so. There's no time limit in healing, but I think some people just be healing for years, or they use that as an excuse, and so there's really no way to really measure it. I also think that people automatic like a person that's in their 40s, any guy or any woman that they encounter, They're automatically thinking relationship. A lot of them are. I'm not saying everybody does. Automatically thinking relationship. Just because you meet somebody doesn't mean that it's going to evolve into a serious relationship and or marriage, right? So I think people got to understand that just knowing how to have a relationship, and it doesn't have to be like like romantically, but just knowing how to talk, because you can still discover some things without having a romantic relationship as far as if you're ready or not. But I think people automatically just go straight to, oh, he doesn't qualify for me, oh, she doesn't qualify for me, because they still have their hurt in them. I just, you have to eventually measure the healing some type of way, and it doesn't have to just go straight relationship. Just having conversations, asking the right questions, doing. I mean, those are. I mean, that's what people are failing at, is in the beginning of relationships. And uh, I think if you can get, so if you can start nipping some of those things in the bud on the front end, and that's part of the whole vetting process. Some people are just failing at vetting, and they have to heal because they've been hurt because they just vetted wrong. So think if you get comfortable being out there and not thinking, oh, this is not the D1, y'all could be friends. Y'all could be cool. You know, you can go out, y'all have a good time, and y'all can respectfully be like, I just don't think that you're a fit, but you're a nice person. And you can kind of keep it moving. That's just how I look at it. Because some people just be healing for years. Nobody never really knows you've never healed because you're afraid to even get close to somebody.
Mhm. I can see that.
I don't have all the answers, but I am open to hearing everybody. That's just my opinion. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I think that just women and men view they go about relationships in very different ways, you know. Um I think that's really what it is. Like you have your idea of how you do it, in your opinion, like, oh, I have these options. And sometimes it's because the woman too has options, and maybe she don't feel like giving up them options for, nowadays these girls. You feel me? It's like what's the opportunity cost in this relationship? What am I'm having to give up to sustain this relationship? Do I think that he's worth it? A lot of times, like mistaken, in the past, I think that women have relied on men to be financially, covered. But nowadays, with that not being there, you actually gotta like him, because he wants you to cook and clean for him. He wants you to do all of these things, so you got to do it out of love, like, you know. And so what is happening is women are going for these guys that they want, who end up teaching them a lesson that, you don't want me. Because and then you be like, okay, lesson learned. But then you go back into a certain kind of relationship and it's like lesson learned. And I know for me, I can honestly say my toxic trait would be I like alone time. I guess when you have been single for so long, you do. I'm just like a man. I like peace too, right? Like I like for us to have our great time, but I'm okay with us being separated for a little bit, and because it makes me enjoy you so much more with that little bit of a break, not a long one, just a little bit. Um, and I think that came along with just being single. When I walk in the house, I like my house to look a certain kind of way. I can control that as a single person, right? I know when I walk in the house is the exact same way when I walked out, besides my kids. But for the most part, that's how it works. If I'm not hungry, if I feel like I'm on a diet this week, I know I have to cook for him, but that's not every single day. That's when he comes over. I know he likes his lunch to be made. I know he likes all these things, but it's not like an everyday situation. So, and fortunately, I found somebody who that works for as well. So,
And I think that's what I'm afraid of, right? And I mean, it's not to take away. Maybe y'all have a y'all dynamic is cool, but when you are single for so long,
mhm,
you get comfortable doing things as single people. Like you're
sure.
afraid to build with somebody. Like you guys should be like there's some good in being around each other. Like you're coming home saying, I don't have to cook for them every day. I mean, to me, the goal would be right. Like we level up, and I hire a cook so we can just travel the world,
Well,
and we
you can
can
level up. You
and, 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 and we can enjoy each other. I'm not trying to have you in the house just cooking all damn day if you ain't got to, you know. But until we get then, until we build up to it, then you know we can kind of make it work. But when I hear you say I like my alone time, like I still think there's if you get to the other side of being able to appreciate being around somebody and with that right person, you wouldn't mind being around them a lot more instead of saying I look forward to my alone time.
Well, so my long time, I guess it's equivalent to when men say I like peace, right? Because I too like peace. I value peace. I'm with kids all day long. I value peace at the end of the day. Just like y'all say, women are yapping off at their problems when you. I got kids yapping with me with their problems all day. So I I like to come home to peace too. We both like peace, and sometimes that doesn't look like we're in separate households. That could be like, okay, there's a man cave, or okay, we just have this moment, and then we'll come together once we done our little, you know. Um, but I do. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I just like a little bit of. I do like a relationship. I like a companionship, and you can still have a partnership and work on things together and not be around them 24 hours a day. I believe that can still happen. Um, I just I don't know what it is. I'm just like that.
I just want to say real quick before we close out, Miss Shan. Peace and alone aren't the same, and
Well,
I don't
I'm not
think.
alone, so I like being with the mate. So let's just be very clear. Most of these women are not alone. They are not alone. Just like JR is not alone. These women are not. Let's be very, very clear. These women are not alone, and that's probably the problem. And
It,
you know,
it
that's
very well could be,
the problem.
They're
but
not alone, but they're lonely because you can be with somebody and still be lonely. And I think that's probably the place where a lot of women are.
But you
They
can't
confuse
marry.
that
You can't even.
loneliness with alone.
So you can't even. So I've seen enough relationships, and including marriages. Not my friends, because my friends seem to have gotten it right. But I've seen enough relationships to even know when you're married, you can still be alone. Okay, so we can't measure everything off of being married. Okay, it doesn't necessarily that doesn't mean anything. That's why men sleep got a side chick that he probably spends more time with than his wife. There's a whole group there. It's just all about a person who speaks the same language as you. I do believe that God put us on earth and we have person that perfectly fits. You know, JR has a person who knows his program perfectly. I think, and so I mean, hopefully the guy works out because we kind of think alike a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But when I need him, I can get in touch. Like if I need him, it ain't no doubt about it. He will stop. If I call him right now, he'll stop what you're doing. Blah blah blah. You know. But I think that I just think it's important to know that it's gonna look different for everybody. What may work for mistaken may not work for me. What may work for JR may not work for me. What may work for AP may not work for me. But guess what? It works for his wife. It works for whoever he's dating. It works for your husband. You know, the guy I'm with, it works for. You know, so that's all I gotta say.
Right.
so my closing remark is just remember to communicate because all of that comes down to communication. Because
It is communication.
as you stated, your guy works for you now, right? But what
Sure.
happens when he decides that he needs more Shan time, and Shan is completely happy with Shan having her alone time?
Well, I think that's where
Like,
the compromise comes in. So if you love a person, and that's what we were talking about earlier, when you love a person, you always try to meet them where they are halfway. Like if he needs something from me, I think it was one time JR we had a show. I think it was last week. I had to get off. He needed me at that time. I was on the show and I had to log off because he needed me at that time. Right. So when there are certain needs that are changing, you have to move with that. You understand? So if he needs more of me, then I just have to understand and we'll figure it out. It'll be in the household. Like maybe I can go to my room. I got several rooms here that anybody using. One of the rooms for a second and then come back.
Just be willing to communicate.
Oh, sure, we communicate.
As soon as your needs and the things you want change, communicate it with your partner. You can't expect them to know what's, and I'm saying this for everybody, men and women alike. You can't expect them to know what's in your head. You can't expect them to always fully understand what it is that you want. You can't expect them to fully understand what it is that you need. And a closed mouth never gets fed. So open your mouth, use your words, communicate with your partner, but don't waste time. If that person can't give that to you, say thank you for the experience.
I agree, HD. We do spend a lot of time on the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'll end with because we're at the 3-hour mark.
We are, and I said 11:30, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all Negroes don't be coming on fast enough. So that was 30 minutes. And then we gotta hear y'all talk in the back chat 30 more minutes. So we made up for that time. All right, you guys. See you next week.
Good night.